crucial to timely retreat from the island before the tide rose. However, we made two mistakes yesterday. The first error was taking our time, leisurely enjoying the scenery along the way. One moment, we admired the colorful sea anemones. The next, we picked up seashells and caught starfishes. Now and then, we paused to take pictures, expressing emotions like, "Ah, oh mighty sea, how many tales of joy and sorrow have you stirred?" Sometimes we stood atop the rocks, pretending to be philosophers, with a cold gaze over the vast expanse, winds howling, waters surging, myriad events challenging to comprehend. We lingered too long and reached the island close to high tide. The second error was that after reaching the Seaview Pavilion, we should have retreated immediately. Instead, we dawdled, reluctant to leave, continuously looking around and taking photos, expressing emotions and lamenting. While the people gathering seafood hurriedly left, we remained indifferent until someone shouted at us, "If you do not run now, it'll be too late." It was too late. The open space of over 10 meters was already submerged. Wait? Absolutely not. The longer we waited, the deeper the water would become. So, on this bitterly cold day in the lunar year 2006, wearing thick clothes, we rushed into the biting sea water. What does it teach me? In life, the most important thing must be addressed first. So, what is the most important thing? Going to school, starting a family, establishing a career, making money, becoming an official, all undoubtedly are not the most important things. Achieving fame, gaining honor for the family, contributing to the nation, leaving a lasting legacy for generations, and creating a new era are also not the most critical matters. Love affairs, enjoying leisure activities, pursuing fame and profit, and even fighting and killing are far from the most important matters. The most crucial thing in life is understanding the issue of life and death. If the issue of life and death is not resolved, everything else is futile. Death can arrive at any moment. When it does, there's no time for regrets or remedies. Everything returns to nothingness, to zero. The problem of life and death is the Seaview Pavilion. Instead of lingering to admire the scenery along the way, we should head straight to the core theme. After reaching the Seaview Pavilion and understanding all the beauty of the island, we can then slowly appreciate the scenery along the way according to the specific tide conditions. Retreat in time from the Seaview Pavilion. Grasp the time to handle the matters on this shore, such as settling debts, accumulating merits, processing life visas, buying plane tickets, organizing luggage, and more. Only after resolving these matters can you fully indulge in entertainment and play and fully enjoy life. Otherwise, once the tide rises, it will be too late. We should learn from Sun Wukong's spirit of seeking the truth. Whenever the master wanted to teach Sun Wukong a skill, he'd always ask, "Can this make me immortal?" If it wasn't about immortality, Wukong would say, "Not learning, not learning, not learning." We are facing the same question as Sun Wukong. The mentors of life teach us skills such as how to establish a family, make money, become an official, protect our family and country, gain fame, and cure illnesses. Learning these skills is not wrong. The issue is that we must first learn the essential skill of immortality. The issue of death is not a simple matter. Humanity's sages have been continuously exploring the true meaning of death. Nearly all religions consistently discuss the post-death fate of life, the soul. It's time to ask this question just like Sun Wukong. If someone comes to impart knowledge, teach us skills, we must focus on the theme and ask, can the skills you teach me allow me to understand the meaning of life and death while alive and ensure that I go to the so-called heaven after death? If yes, then hurry up and learn. If not, turn away. If a Christian comes to teach us, we should ask, can I go to heaven? Where is heaven? How do I get there? You must explain the whole story clearly so that I can understand it while I'm alive. If it's vague, unclear, and demands only faith without proper explanation, then, I'm sorry, I will not learn. Whether it's a Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, Taoist, a member of a political party, this master or that master imparting knowledge, we should pose the same question about life and death. If they can explain clearly, we'll learn. If they cannot, sorry, we will not learn. Because time is precious and the tide could rise at any moment, blocking us from passing that vast open space. In summary, we need to quickly meet the standard and then retreat in time. Otherwise, we will regret it. Many things, always urgent. The world turns, time presses. 10,000 years are too long. Seize only the present. 随宇宙周期性演变而变化, changing in tune with the cyclical evolution of the universe. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. That year, my son was 15. We lived at 10 Forest Road, in a detached house surrounded by 63 different plants. Among them was a tree emitting a peculiar and strong fragrance after dinner during the flowering seasons. The scent wafted through the courtyard, drifted into the dining room, living room, bedroom, permeating our nostrils, seeping into our organs and minds, intoxicating and enchanting us. That evening after dinner, I strolled with my child in the courtyard, standing under this divine tree, whose name I still do not know, and began a lecture for my son. Here is what I shared with him back then. Son, since you were 3, I've been teaching you about life. For the past 3 years, every Wednesday evening has been our designated father-son exchange. I may lack the ability to provide you with abundant material wealth. Instead, I'm passing on the little wisdom inherited from your great-grandmother and grandfather and some traditional virtues of the Chinese nation that I've come to understand. Over these 3 years, I've taken you to the Jehovah's Witness Church every Sunday, exposing you to their teachings to make you aware of what's missing in Chinese culture. Your future insights will rely on your perception. Read some books that are not books, like this tree. It's a book. Let's read it now. Son, Dad, how do we read this tree? Child, this tree is a book encompassing everything. Imagine how it grows, what sustains it, its origin, why its leaves are green, why it only blooms once a year, why its leaves and flowers have distinctive shapes. What force is behind this uniqueness? Tonight, let's not discuss anything else, only explore why this tree emits fragrance only at specific times. What can this phenomenon teach us? Son, Dad, is it trying to tell us it adheres to a governing law? You truly are your father's good son, clever with high comprehension. What else do you think is also governed by a law? Son, it seems all plants and flowers follow a law. When spring arrives, they sprout, bloom, and grow. When winter comes, they wither, decay, and hide. This happens every year. Reasonable. What else is bound by a law? Son, seems like weather changes are also governed by a law. Zimbabwe has dry and rainy seasons. During the dry season, rain does not fall for months. When the rainy season arrives, it starts raining. Midway through the rainy season, thunder and lightning occur frequently, accompanied by heavy rains. This happens every year. Anything else? Son, the moon also seems to be governed by a law. Otherwise, we wouldn't have regular full moons and new moons. Anything else? Son, Dad, are not people also constrained by a law? I do not have a beard now, but you do. You didn't have a beard at my age. When I'm your age, I'll surely have a beard. Isn't this something we cannot control, Dad? Absolutely right, child. What else is bound by a law? Son, can't remember. Child, everything in the universe is bound by laws, like an invisible vast net covering everything. From celestial bodies' movements to insects' reproduction, from tides' ebb and flow to roosters' crowing, everything is within this net. Nothing escapes it. Son, is this net like the palm of the Buddha? You can understand it that way. Son, Dad, since everything is governed by laws, does that mean everything in my life is inevitably constrained by laws? Can I skip school tomorrow? Silly child, trying to stump Dad? I patted his head then, and the child smiled shyly. Since everything is bound by a law, you must go to school. You do not have a choice. Just like when you're hungry, you must eat. Or when your bladder is full, you must urinate. Son, then when can I have control over myself? Haven't I lost my freedom? Child, this delves into something deeper. Firstly, we need to seek out and understand the laws. Without knowing the laws, one's life remains bewildered, confused, and unclear. Everyone believes they are acting according to their own will, but in reality, They strictly adhere to established procedures in their actions and speech. Whether it's Jesus, Buddha, Hitler, or Mao Zedong, it's all the same. Son, Dad, the more you talk, the more confused I get. Child, seeking and understanding laws are one thing. Following them is another. For example, if you discover the law of seasonal changes, you should consider adapting to those changes. When winter is approaching, you should think about how to survive the cold. Are your winter clothes prepared? Is the heating equipment effective? And so on. Farmers aiming for a good harvest must prepare seeds, fertilizers, tools according to seasonal changes and sow, water, weed, fertilize, and harvest on time. Missing the season means no harvest. Discovering the law enables us to grasp the cyclic evolution of the law. Like geese flying north and south, a comet returning every 76 years, women menstruating, and societal cyclic upheavals. Mastering the cyclic nature of laws tells us what to seek and what not to seek in life. Son, Dad, you said that we have no control over everything. So what should I pursue and what should I not pursue? Can I have control over that? This involves whether we have mastered the laws and their cyclical evolution. If we are completely ignorant of the laws and their cyclical nature, we are always out of control, just like mice that must inevitably dig holes or bees that inevitably gather nectar to make honey. However, if we have mastered the laws and their cyclical evolution, we have control over ourselves. The more laws we comprehend, the more freedom we have. Son, so, people should first seek and understand laws. But how many laws are there in the universe? Child, the laws in the universe are endless, like the vastness of the ocean's waters. Son, Dad, with so many rules, when will we ever find them? It seems impossible to grasp them in a lifetime. Plus, we still need to eat, go to school, work, sleep. There is not enough time. Child, it's true that it seems difficult, and it is indeed difficult. However, saying it's not difficult means it's not. I have a trick. Once you master it, you can navigate effortlessly through endless changes. If I were to place you in a space where the sky is not the sky, where there's no distinction between up and down, how would you find your way out from there? If there's a cycle of significant change in this universe every 5,000 years, how could we escape it? Son, Dad, the universe is unfathomable, and it seems like you are too. But it's already past 10, and I have school tomorrow. Can I go to bed now? Child, school is important. Let's stop our conversation here for tonight. I patted my child's head again, and the child smiled shyly. 识别真假的功夫. Distinguishing the truth from the false. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. When I was young, I followed my parents to the fields to weed. The wheat was less than 3 inches tall, the field a lush green, seemingly without any weeds growing amidst it. Yet, my parents bent over, carefully pulling out the weeds one by one, while my task was to move the uprooted weeds away from the wheat field and pile them together. Once, while observing the neatly stacked weeds, I thought I discovered a mistake made by my parents. With a proud yet reproachful tone, I called out to my mother, "Mom, you've mistaken the wheat for weeds." "Bring it here, let me see," my mother responded. Excitedly, I brought the uprooted wheat to show my mother, aiming to prove her wrong. However, without even looking at it, my mother said to me, "Compare it to the wheat growing in the field. See if it truly is wheat." I compared it repeatedly, but I was still convinced that what she had uprooted wasn't grass but indeed wheat. "Mom, I am sure what you've pulled out is wheat." My mother then, with a gentle smile, had me squat down and said, "Look, this grass is called barnyard grass. It looks almost like wheat, but upon careful observation, there are differences. The color of barnyard grass is slightly darker than wheat. Its leaves are a bit wider, and when you touch it, its leaves are not as soft as wheat. This barnyard grass has a stronger vitality than wheat. If we do not pull it out now, it will absorb all the nutrients nearby, hindering the wheat around it from growing well." I earnestly compared it again and found my mother's point to be completely accurate. I mimicked her actions, searching the field, and discovered many barnyard grasses that looked like wheat among the seemingly wheat-filled field. I uprooted one barnyard grass and asked my father to identify it. He glanced at it, his dirty hand touching my head, and praised, "My child is so clever." At that moment, the pride I felt was no less than Columbus discovering a new continent. Now, I can also tell the difference between barnyard grass and wheat. But as an adult, I've been deceived time and again. Why cannot I distinguish between the wheat and barnyard grass among people? Bowl can distinguish between horses, identifying the outstanding ones among the many, discerning which are inferior, which are good runners, and which are exceptional. This ability, akin to my parents' differentiation between wheat and barnyard grass, requires considerable effort and stems from long-term observation and analysis. It's a skill that's challenging for an amateur to master. Thus, I admire all those who possess such skills, and I realize that in every matter, it requires experts to make judgments. The flamboyant words of novices not only create confusion but also distort the truth, making it difficult to distinguish between true and false, right and wrong. I imagine how wonderful it would be if in this world, all novices refrained from interfering in matters of experts, refraining from meddling in what they do not understand, refraining from casually writing articles to critique. What I cannot comprehend is why those with shallow understanding and superficial skills are so fond of criticizing and commenting on philosophy, thoughts, politics, arts, and spiritual studies. Without deep expertise or unique talent, how do they comprehend the deeper truths? Why not be a bit humble? Displaying one's limited knowledge only shows shallowness and immaturity. Boasting shamelessly only signifies arrogance and conceit. Unconditionally affirming or denying only reflects ignorance and foolishness. Denying the greatest creator is due to dull spiritual perception. Negating deities is because of worldly eyes. Not acknowledging other spaces is due to ignorance about non-material and negative universes. Human understanding of the mysteries of the universe and life is quite limited, so why deny it? Our vision, our hearing, are confined to a relatively narrow and limited area, but through perception, we have the capability to transcend these limitations and enter an infinitely vast space. With such a beautiful future, why not explore? Why not pursue? I see that human society is filled with isolated lakes that do not connect to rivers and oceans. Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, Taoism, science, they're like individual lakes. Evolution, the Big Bang Theory, genetic studies, socialist theories, capitalist theories, democratic theories, human rights theories, and more, they're like drying up small ponds. Why not connect them to understand and contemplate? In his book, Morals, Naked Ape, physicist Mr. Jam Kaming vividly likened this situation to studying the elephant's toenails, legs, tail, ivory, ears, without anyone truly studying the entire elephant. If there were someone studying the entire elephant, those studying just the toenails or tail would sneer. What? I cannot even figure out the elephant's toenails thoroughly, and you claim to understand the entire elephant? The fable of the blind men and the elephant tells us that if we confine our thinking to what we've touched and cling to our biases, we'll never understand the complete picture of the elephant. We'll forever remain in endless debates of the elephant is a pillar, the elephant is a wall, the elephant is a rope, the elephant is a fan, but we'll never unravel the eternal question of which came first, the chicken or the egg. In the past 20 years, many knowledgeable, aspiring, and idealistic people have been exploring ways to end authoritarianism. However, very few have explored from the perspective of studying the entire elephant. Most have confined their vision to the narrow field of elephant toenail studies, leg studies, focusing solely on emperors, political parties, and systems, as if you could both nurture fish and grow crops and water equally. I lack profound moral virtues, but I've learned from my parents how to distinguish wheat from barnyard grass and understand the method of integrating human culture. But how many are interested? Continue with your debates. 简单 plus 淳朴 equals美. Simple plus unsophisticated equals beautiful. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. The most complex thing in the universe is within holography, which is the negative universe, entirely composed of non-material. Holography has no specific structure. It's a unified world of spirits. Holography controls everything in the universe at negative universe speed. Events occurring on Earth can be sensed almost instantly on another planet tens of thousands of light years away. This is called heaven-human resonance, also known as cosmic holography. All scientific theories and hypotheses lose their efficacy within holography. This includes Einstein's general theory of relativity, quantum mechanics, superstring theory, and many assertions by scientists about the universe, such as those by Hawking in A Brief History of Time. Even people's imaginations hold no value within holography. Currently, we do not need to understand holography. Let's analyze what is most beautiful in the universe from the origin of matter. No one denies that everything in the universe originates from structure. A fertilized egg can develop into a relatively perfect life form, depending on the structure of that egg. The type of life form corresponds to the structure of the fertilized egg. A dog's fertilized egg cannot develop into a pig, and a monkey's fertilized egg cannot develop into a human because the structures of their material origins are different. Though the superstring theory is fascinating, it relies on structure, just as the sound from a flute and an arrow differs, depending on the different structures of the instruments. However, for us humans, structure is elusive. We cannot grasp it. Melody is beautiful, but it has no visual effect. Quarks, protons, neutrons, photons, electrons, etc., cannot exhibit their beauty to humans. A single molecule may be simple, yet its beauty eludes our appreciation. From holography to structure, from structure to superstrings, from superstrings to particles, from particles to molecules, from molecules to matter. This process is a journey from complexity to simplicity. Why simplify? Because simplicity aligns with the way of life on Earth. Without simplicity, the emergence of human society is impossible. Gazing at the sky at night, stars twinkling, we feel beautiful. During the day, gentle breeze and sunshine, clouds drifting, we feel beautiful. Blooming flowers, flowing rivers, babbling brooks, towering mountains, all evoke a sense of beauty. Simplicity is beautiful. For humans, being merely simple might seem foolish. Human beauty primarily lies in intrinsic qualities, and among all intrinsic qualities, unsophistication is the most precious quality. People in urban areas polluted by consumerist society, if they go to remote, untainted, simple countryside areas and see green hills, leisurely cattle and sheep, shy yet respectful greetings from the villagers, they will undoubtedly experience beauty because the countryside is not only simple but also unsophisticated. Rural people going to big cities, witnessing the hustle and bustle, flashing neon lights, charming men and women, apart from amazement, may not experience much beauty because the city is too complex and superficial. Recall, how many people have provided you with a sense of beauty? What exactly are the factors of their beauty? If someone looks beautiful but is superficial, can you feel beauty from them? When people are young, they experience more beauty because everything is simple and pure. The older people get, the less beauty they feel, because through simplicity and unsophistication, they see complexity and superficiality. Human society is becoming increasingly complex, vulgar, and superficial, deviating from the true path, losing not only beauty but everything. People, do you not long for beauty? 垃圾的作用和价值. The function and value of garbage. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. In 1997, while tidying the courtyard, I collected a carload of trash. Following municipal regulations, unlike in my homeland where one might handle garbage as they wished, I obediently took the trash to the designated dump. At the dump's entrance, after paying the dumping fee, I precisely disposed of the trash in the specified area, as directed by the dump staff. After dumping the garbage, I glanced around and noticed that over the years, the garbage pile had become a thriving mound of plants and flowers. It was hard to imagine a vibrant world of flowers and lush grass growing atop a massive heap of rubbish. Nature is truly amazing. It can turn decay into wonders and death into eternal life. This was a remarkable revelation that urged me to treat garbage with kindness. Garbage is treasure. By collecting various types of trash in one place and allowing them to undergo exposure to the sun, rain, wind, and heat, the garbage can transform into potent organic fertilizer, providing a continuous source of nutrients for the plants growing above it, creating a beautiful garden. Expanding on this revelation, if material garbage can become nourishment for plants, can spiritual garbage become nourishment for spiritual life? Deliberately, I began collecting spiritual garbage. I discovered that human-created culture contains a considerable amount of garbage. If we gather this garbage and let it ferment and decay within our minds, it will surely turn into something extraordinary and magical. Scavengers in cities know where to find scrap iron, discarded cans, old papers, and bottles. Similarly, I gradually learned where to find cultural garbage. Aside from picking up garbage from historical cultural repositories, I also collected garbage from modern political doctrines, religious studies, scientific inferences, especially from newspapers, magazines, and online forums, where I could gather large amounts of trash every day. I loaded all this garbage into my mind, allowing them to contradict, refute, and generate a biochemical reaction. Eventually, I used this as nourishment for Life Genuine, providing fertile soil for its germination and growth. Just as grass and flowers grow on piles of material garbage, Life Genuine has sprouted from heaps of cultural refuse. Just as grass and flowers purify the earth, Life Genuine purifies the soul. Anticipate the future of Earth, verdant, blossoming, filled with talented individuals, and harmonious. Watch with anticipation. Now and in the future, humanity's cultural treasures will radiate brilliant light within Life Genuine. The writings of saints and sages will find their place here, sparkling like stars, galloping like 1,000 horses. And those articles deemed cultural garbage will continue to provide nourishment for Life Genuine. 小脑袋聪明，大脑袋笨. Small minds are clever, big minds are foolish, shrewd but unwise. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. It was a summer day in 1976 when I, age 19, served as the Deputy Secretary and Document Officer of the Production Brigade. This brigade comprised 5 natural villages with a total of 11 production teams. 5 teams were made up of relocated residents from the Lujiaxia Reservoir, while the other 6 were local residents, including 2 Muslim villages. Due to the diverse composition, I handled matters and spoke with extreme caution. I never dared to offend any production team. The best way to maintain smooth production operations, I learned, was to be fair and humble, respecting all the elderly. My father taught me, wherever you go, as long as you respect and show politeness to the elderly, you will not have major troubles. Therefore, I always held respect for all the elders in the brigade close to my heart and translated it into my actions. Strangely enough, just this tactic of respecting the elders allowed me to serve as the local emperor for 3 years peacefully and smoothly. Among all the elders in the brigade, there was one who left an indelible memory with me. He was a landlord. His family's courtyard walls were the highest and thickest, and their gate tower was the most magnificent. Before liberation, he gradually gave his land to tenant farmers and distributed his property among relatives and neighbors. Therefore, after liberation, the government gave him the classification of an enlightened landlord. He escaped the hardships of various political movements, including the Cultural Revolution. He also sent his son, in the 1950s, to Tsinghua University. I knew this elderly man was quite astute. Whenever I met him, I was always respectful. He seemed to have some fondness for me, a son of a poor farmer. Between us, there seemed to be no class hatred, and certainly, there was no ethnic resentment. That day, in my leadership capacity, I went to the greening station for an inspection, wanting to assess the survival rate and growth status of the fruit trees planted there. Coincidentally, this elderly man was there too, and we started chatting. First, I praised the young people in their village for being smart. During our middle and high school years, several young people from their village dropped out to earn money and support their families. All those who continued their education ultimately returned to the village to farm, seemingly wasting a few years of their time. Unexpectedly, this elderly man said something that deeply resonated with me. He said, "Those young people have clever small minds and foolish big minds." "What do you mean?" I asked, puzzled. He adjusted his beard and explained, "In a person's life, especially during adolescence, laying a good foundation is essential. If the foundation is poorly built, no matter how much effort you put in later, there will not be much future. With a solid foundation, efforts pay off double. Without it, efforts pay off half as much. Those with clever small minds are always lazy in laying foundations, eager for fame and profit, while those with clever big minds prioritize laying a solid foundation, even if it means temporarily giving up fame and profit. The result is that those eager for fame and profit end up with nothing, while those who temporarily gave up fame and profit for the foundation eventually achieve fame and profit. Those young people in our village who didn't go to school but went to earn money may seem to have gained a lot, but they've ruined their lives. So, I say they have clever small minds and foolish big minds. Small minds being clever and big minds being foolish has been a guiding light for me since then. If one seeks mere survival, having a clever small mind is sufficient. But to attain wisdom and expand the meaning of life, the smarter one's small mind, the more they cause trouble and harm. One must abandon small cleverness and strive to develop a clever big mind. Although both small cleverness and big cleverness are forms of intelligence, they operate in vastly different dimensions of time and space. One is concerned with pursuing immediate gains in the present moment, while the other looks to the future, seeking long-term gains. Ordinary people are clever with small minds, but foolish with big minds. Only those accomplished saints and sages possess a foolish, small mind and a clever big mind. The clever small mind focuses on the present, while the clever big mind plans for the future. The clever small mind is eager to display itself, while the clever big mind is busy seeking the truths of the universe. The clever small mind aims for the brilliance of life, while the clever big mind aims for the eternal nature of life. 使生命不朽的小法则 Laws which keep life immortal. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qinyu. Every morning, turning on the tap to wash my face, I noticed that the initial water flow was murky and not clear. This happened every day. It then dawned on me that life truly resides in movement. The house I lived in had 3 bathrooms. Once, one of them had a leak and was temporarily closed. Since there were 2 others available, there was no hurry to repair it. To prevent anyone from using it, my partner not only covered the toilet seat but also sealed it with transparent tape. However, she overlooked dealing with the water remaining at the bottom of the toilet. About 10 days later, we noticed tiny flies frequently flying in the hallway. Our room was cleaned daily by the floral workers, and it was challenging to find even a speck of dirt. Throughout the year, we rarely saw flies. Why did they suddenly appear? Despite searching everywhere, my partner and I couldn't locate the source of the issue. My partner prefers cleanliness and tidiness. She not only got upset at the sight of a group of flies, but if even a single fly appeared in the room, she had to either crush it to dust or chase it out to feel at ease. As expected, while I was typing at the computer, I suddenly heard her excitedly exclaim, as if she had discovered a new continent, "Honey, I found it." I went over to take a look, and there were already hundreds of tiny flies hovering inside the toilet she had opened. The water at the bottom of the toilet, once clear, had turned murky and filthy. We used a bucket to flush the water and then sprayed it with a solution called Toilet Active Kills Germs for washing. Finally, we scrubbed it with a cleaning agent. After more than 3 hours, all the flies retreated and the room returned to cleanliness. The lessons from these 2 natural phenomena are: flowing water does not stagnate, and a door hinge does not get worms. With both coming and going, peace naturally prevails. A further lesson is, water only stays pure when it keeps flowing. Life remains eternal only when it keeps moving. Movement is life. Stillness is death. As life comprises 2 parts, the physical body and the spiritual soul, it demands simultaneous movement in both aspects. For the physical body, a person must be active regularly to keep the circulation of qi and blood flowing. This circulation effectively delivers nutrients and oxygen to all parts of the body, keeping the body vibrant. For the spiritual soul, this movement requires continuous thinking without allowing the brain to remain dormant. Similar to water flowing from its source to rivers and oceans for eternal existence, life must connect with the past and envision higher-level life spaces to endure eternally. We often lament someone's rigid thinking, likening them to rigid wood that's difficult to carve. The reason behind this is that they adhere to their own views and confine their thinking within a dead pool of specific doctrines, ideologies, thoughts, or isms. Over time, they unknowingly become rotten and stinky, neither accepting new thoughts, fresh water, nor willing to come out of their closed well to flow into rivers and oceans. As a result, not only does their original purity deteriorate, but they also create many flies, polluting the surrounding air and environment. For instance, major religions consider their own religion as the only true one, branding all others as false. They clutch onto a few scrolls and seek disciples everywhere, advocating the pure nature, eternity, and truth of their dead pool, showing such stubborn bias and ignorance that they are unaware of their own extremity. What future could they possibly have? For example, some scientists believe that only scientific matters are universally applicable truths, and that only science can ultimately save humanity. They prefer to run vigorously on a one-way street, completely ignoring the existence of the non-material world and negative universe. Can they see through everything? For example, 最后一趟航班, The Last Flight, Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. A friend of mine, busy buying gifts, ended up running late on the way back and encountered traffic due to another accident. Helplessly, they missed the last flight and were forced to stay at Bangkok Airport in Thailand for a day. During journeys, missing the last mode of transport often happens. Whether it is a bus, a ship, or a plane, there is always one last trip within a day. If missed, one has to wait for several hours, or even days. However, when it comes to life's final flight, missing it means waiting not just for a few days, years, or several decades, but potentially for centuries, millennia, or tens of thousands of years. The saying, "too late for regrets," profoundly resonates with those who've missed life's final flight. During life's journey, it's crucial to be aware of the departure time of the last flight and allocate sufficient time to catch it. To board that last flight, it's better to temporarily let go of less important matters. Avoid spending too much time sightseeing or shopping to prevent deep regrets. The timing of life's final flight can be calculated through Nostradamus prophecies, Mayan prophecies, the 9-year-old Martian from Russia, descriptions in the Lungyan Sutra by Buddha Shakyamuni, and the descriptions in the 3rd chapter of 2 Timothy in the Bible. These can help calculate this time. Below, I've transcribed a passage from 2 Timothy for your reference. I urge you to compare it with the current human society to check if it is worth your reflection. However, you should know that in the last days there will be very difficult times. People will love themselves, love money, boast, be proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of the greatest Creator, having a form of godliness but denying its power. Turn away from such people, always learning but never able to come to a knowledge of the truth. Do not miss life's final flight. Once missed, your wealth, power, and fame will be worthless. Crying out will be in vain. The flight of life will not be delayed because you're a president, CEO, scientist, master, professor, scholar, billionaire, or an engineer of human souls. Do not assume that being kind or poor would allow for changing the date and route of life's flight. Truly just is the last flight of life. 道德法仁义礼智信术 Tao, virtue, law, benevolence, righteousness, rituals, wisdom, credibility, magical art. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Observing human history, it always seems like a tangled mess. Looking at the current state of humanity, it appears as a complete mess. Where do the problems lie? Can we organize this tangled mess and find some order? The universe operates in order, seasons change in a timely manner. Does human society have to remain forever like history, forever like the current state? Must humanity forever repeat its mistakes? Let me first provide definitions for Tao, virtue, law, benevolence, righteousness, rights, wisdom, trust, and art, and then examine the causes behind human history and its current state. Tao, it's the spirit of the greatest creator. To put it simply, the consciousness of the greatest creator. Tao is non-material, belonging to the negative aspect of the universe. It's the force governing the evolution and changes of the universe, representing laws, principles, vitality, and the blood of the universe. Virtue. It's the quality of gods and Buddhas, celestial beings. The thinking quality that strictly conforms to the essence of Tao while aligning with the flow of Tao. Law. It's a way for gods, spirits, Buddhas, and demons to utilize Tao and manifest their respective abilities. Benevolence. It's the internal standard used by sages in human society to restrain themselves and all people to uphold the inner quality of virtue. Righteousness. It's a behavior of noble people and gentlemen. Rituals. It's a method used by rulers to maintain their rule. Wisdom. It's the cleverness and ingenuity acquired by the common people for survival. Trust. It is a mutually binding covenant devised and created to maintain the orderly life of humanity. Magical art. It's a trick played by lower-class individuals in society to highlight themselves through abnormal channels. By analyzing human history and current state from these definitions, when humanity prioritizes Tao, all aspects of human society can operate in order, presenting a state of national peace, favorable weather, natural harmony, and genuine modesty and accommodation. When humanity forsakes Tao but prioritizes virtue, the trend of seeking gods and Buddhas starts to prevail. Waves of religious movements emerge, the mindset of seeking divine blessings becomes increasingly prominent, and religions begin to dominate various social domains. People refrain from arrogance and recklessness, thus maintaining effective societal functioning while preserving harmony between humans and nature. When humanity abandons both Tao and virtue in favor of law, the situation of warlords rising gradually emerges. Inevitable wars and plundering escalate, intensifying the destruction of nature. Humanity plunges into a phase of frenzied development. When humanity esteems benevolence, with Tao and virtue in decline, law can receive appropriate restraints. However, cunning and sophistry begin to prevail. Various doctrines, thoughts, and ideologies proliferate, and humanity gradually loses spirituality, relying more on rationality for survival. When righteousness becomes a trend, numerous political parties, social groups, and civilian factions emerge, intensifying the competition for self-centered interests. Human society becomes restless and unstable. When rituals dominate society, the essence of human nature begins to degrade, and beastly behavior finds its way. Everyone strives vigorously to climb upward, leading to prevalent acts of oppression, slander, false accusations, mutual deception, opportunism, and a surge of deceitful practices. These phenomena proliferate like mushrooms after the rain. When wisdom is promoted as human cleverness, people become excessively shrewd, constantly striving for personal gain. Seizing every inch of merit, their hearts and words at odds, lies pervading streets and alleys, faith completely lost. Their small minds exceedingly bright while their larger minds are exceedingly foolish. They appear human but resemble ghosts, making it difficult to distinguish between the two, making it hard to differentiate between humans and demons. When credibility is recognized by the masses as the best tool to restrain humanity, constitutions, laws, regulations, and systems multiply, becoming increasingly intricate. Coupled with religious doctrines and ritual constraints, human nature is almost entirely lost. Everyone becomes a cog in society's machinery, struggling and fighting, yet finding it challenging to realize their noble ideals. When magical art takes center stage in society, superstition prevails, the distinction between humans and ghosts becomes blurred. Falsehoods, ugliness, and evil replace truths, beauty, and goodness. People become akin to those under a spell, chaotic, disordered, rendering it almost impossible to find a remedy for humanity. Isn't this the cause of human history and its current state? 关闭一扇门，另几扇门会自动打开. Close one door, and others will open automatically. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Many movie theaters, auditoriums, conference halls, and such have multiple entrances and exits. After watching a movie, all the doors in the cinema open, but we can only choose one to leave. One person cannot exit through two doors simultaneously, Similarly, one cannot enter through two doors at once. There are 36 doors in the universe, but available for humans, there are only 12. We can only choose one. We cannot simultaneously pick several doors. The 12 doors available for human entry and exit remain open at all times. They never close. We have the power to choose at any moment. However, once we choose one door, the other 11 automatically close. Similarly, when we close one door, the remaining 11 doors open automatically. It's like going to an airport to board a plane. Dozens of planes wait on the tarmac for passengers. We can only choose one. We cannot fly on two or several planes simultaneously. Likewise, a high school graduate who passes the university admission score has dozens of universities to choose from. They can only make selections from the list and ultimately enter one university. They cannot study at several schools simultaneously. The saying, "A man fears choosing the wrong profession. A woman fears marrying the wrong man," implies this philosophy. If we regard Tao, virtue, law, benevolence, righteousness, rituals, wisdom, credibility, and magical art as doors within the human value system, we also face the issue of choice. Moreover, it's a situation where we can only choose one, unable to possess them all. If we choose Tao, virtue becomes void. If we choose virtue, law is forfeited. If we opt for law, benevolence is sacrificed. If we choose benevolence, righteousness is relinquished. If we prefer righteousness, rituals are forsaken. If we choose rituals, wisdom diminishes. If we opt for wisdom, credibility is forfeited. If we select credibility, magical art is relinquished. Conversely, choosing magical art means no credibility. Choosing credibility means no wisdom. Choosing wisdom means no rituals. Choosing rituals means no righteousness. Choosing righteousness means no benevolence. Choosing benevolence means no law. Choosing law means no virtue. Choosing virtue means no Tao. Regarding this, 99% of people might disagree, thinking Tao, virtue, law, benevolence, righteousness, ritual, wisdom, credibility, and magical art are like 9 dishes on a banquet table, and individuals can freely pick and choose. If one holds this view, he fails to grasp understanding of the contradictory nature among these 9 dishes. Some may believe they can perfectly embody both Tao and virtue, which is impossible. Having Tao would inevitably mean lacking virtue, and possessing virtue would surely mean lacking Tao. If someone claims to have both Tao and virtue, then the Tao they possess must be a facade, a false front. The complexity of human history lies here, and the root cause of human confusion resides here. Please contemplate this on your own. Closing one door automatically opens several others. Opening one door automatically closes others. Choosing death, the door to life automatically closes. Opening the door to life, the door to death automatically closes. The key is to be clear about which door you are currently in. Once you become a farmer, you have no connection with being a worker. If you become a thief, you cannot become an upright gentleman. If you become a corrupt official, you are no longer a representative of the people. If you become a prostitute, you cannot be called a lady. Many people know which door they are in, and they are aware of the difficulties in their current door. However, they lack the courage to close it, fearing that once closed, there will be no door to enter. In fact, such concerns are unnecessary. There are only 12 doors of life, speaking only in terms of human existence, and there are countless paths in life. Regardless of which path you take, eventually, you will enter one of the 12 doors of life. All roads lead to Rome, but not all roads lead to heaven. Many paths lead to hell. It's time to choose which door to enter. Delaying decisions will only lead to lifelong regrets. Life Genuine is one such door, primarily leading to the 1,000-year world. Xier de Sanliang, Evil Kindness. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. The noble die for their confidence. As someone influenced by Confucian culture, I also hold this view of life. While I doubt whether I could die for a confidant, walking the path with those who understand me, sharing joys and sorrows, is what I pursue. Drinking tea, chatting, climbing mountains, traveling with those who understand me always brings a sense of delight. True friends are hard to find in life. Although they say, grass is green everywhere under the sky, in this finite life, If one finds a confidant, discovers a patch of green grass, and fails to cherish it, assuming there's an abundance ahead, they are likely to miss opportunities and regret for a lifetime. If we do not walk with those who understand us, should we stay with those who do not? Repay kindness received with gushing gratitude is a value I adhere to. When someone helped me at a critical time, pulling me out of a predicament, guiding me out of confusion, showing me hope, healing wounds, how could I forget the pain? Repaying kindness is the virtue of a true gentleman. Repaying kindness with enmity is the conduct of a petty person. Before going abroad, I encountered a confidant who was the CEO of a limited industrial development company that I met after starting my own business. I mentioned his name in the postscript of Life Genuine, saying, "Meeting you during my journey, receiving your help is like being nourished by the rain. I throw a spiritual beam toward the sky, wishing you a smooth journey ahead." This is my blessing for him and for all the other confidants I've encountered on my life journey. After going abroad, I discovered a massive potential market. In gratitude, I soon wrote to this CEO, informing him about the considerable profits from overseas markets. He was excited and promptly replied, appointing me as the manager of the company's overseas department. Everything was running smoothly for a while. To expedite progress, I made a request to the CEO. I need to rent an office, set up a telephone, and buy a car. Please have the corporate headquarters consider this request. Anyone who has run a company overseas knows that an office, a fax machine, and a car are basic necessities. However, those who haven't traveled abroad might think riding a bicycle or taking public transportation suffices. Stalled. After my request, I received no further response from the CEO. Later, I learned that the hitch occurred due to several vice presidents, the CEO's spouse, and caring friends who concerned about him. Upon learning of my request, they cautioned him, saying, "Be cautious, do not fall for his tricks. This person is ambitious. He might be a fraud." A great opportunity, capable of bringing the CEO immense wealth, fizzled out, vanished, and miscarried. This happened in the name of kind concern. Later, the increasing success and growth of many Chinese compatriots in this place confirmed my initial judgment. Instead of the kindness and warnings from those around the CEO, if he had taken swift action and seized the opportunity, this industrial company would have evolved into an entirely different entity. Upon pondering this for a long time, I realized the kindness around the CEO was a kind of evil kindness. Evil kindness always presents itself as sincere, considerate, caring, and "it's for your own good." Yet, it consistently sets invisible obstacles in the way of others' development, ruining their bright prospects. You must be careful. Be cautious not to fall for it. Always be cautious of others. This person is ambitious. You must be cautious. Allow me to speak frankly. I'm doing this for your own good. Evil kindness not only ruins someone's bright future, but can also crush their beliefs, create discord among brothers and sisters, make friends and colleagues turn against each other, cause divorce between spouses, sow hatred between parents and children, lead partners to court, cause the downfall of political parties, dissolve organizations, bring turmoil to nations, and bring disgrace to ethnic groups. Evil kindness is everywhere, always cloaked in kindness, making it hard to guard against. Those with a twisted mind, lacking genuine talent, those with a cunning mind but no substantial intellect, insistent on displaying themselves as frogs at the bottom of a well, and those who cannot argue logically, provide evidence, and thrive on baseless speculation are the breeding grounds of evil kindness. Sanlang de Xiera. Benevolent evil. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Once while watching Animal World on TV, I came across a scene. A tall tree with a bird's nest, a big bird cruelly driving away a young bird seemingly not fully feathered from the nest. The young bird, panicked, tried to hide, squeezing back into the nest. The bird mother, seemingly lacking any sympathy for her daughter, flapped her wings, squawked, not letting it take a step back, eventually forcing the young bird to fly away from the tree nest and clumsily spread its wings for the first time. The fledgling bird landed clumsily on the grass, and the big bird promptly flew to a branch not far from it, preening its feathers. but observing the newly liberated young bird, chirping and hopping joyfully on the ground. It seemed to say, "Mom, look, I can fly. I can hop on the ground. Life outside is so much freer and comfortable than in the nest. Look, Mom, I can even catch insects. Oh, the outside world is wonderful." At first glance, the mother bird's act of driving away her offspring seemed evil. Yet, upon seeing the joyful scene of the young bird on the ground, I immediately recognized that the mother bird's seemingly evil actions were, in fact, a form of benevolent evil. Inspired by the big bird, I employed a kind of benevolent evil in raising my own child. Starting at 13, my child took charge of the family's dinner, learned to drive at 14, and began driving to school at 16. I never did tasks he could manage himself. At 16, he competed for the position of the student company's general manager and succeeded. Regarding university, I said he could choose any university in the USA, UK, Australia, or South Africa, except elite schools like Harvard or MIT due to unaffordable tuition fees. Eventually, he researched online, contacted universities, and chose a top-ranked university within the global top 100. At 18, he left home, the nest, went to the US and UK embassies to apply for his visa himself, bought a plane ticket, registered in the USA, found accommodation, opened a bank account, and everything went smoothly. Finally, like the big bird, I drove my child out of the nest. Consequently, just like the young bird landing on the grass, he discovered a broader world and a space of freedom beyond the nest. His academic performance remained outstanding, and he received care and support from various quarters. People who know us envy our obedient and sensible child, but little do they know that I employed an evil educational method. Whether educating children, managing employees, or governing countries, leading people should adopt benevolent evil. Pure kindness ultimately harms oneself and others. Only benevolent evil can save both. To those who are ignorant, the most effective approach is to employ a strategy of benevolent evil, as they are unresponsive to reason and unmoved even in life-threatening situations. Resorting to a fascist dictatorship is inhumane, leaving us with no option but to employ evil methods. To those who damage nature, those who cause trouble without reason, those who lazily parasitize, and those who are fanatics, the most effective way to rescue them is through a form of benevolent evil. If we spend too much time waiting for them to understand it, it is too late and humanity will be on the brink of catastrophe. Children who cannot swim insist on bathing in the river, those unfamiliar with electricity want to touch high-voltage wires, those lacking faith insist on freedom, and those unfamiliar with Chinese culture and the human spiritual world insist on advocating private ownership. Is it wise for them to follow their own whims without considering the consequences not only for themselves, but also for the future of others and the entire nation? Humanity faces an immense potential disaster. We are standing at the edge of a precipice. It's time to wake up. 98% of people are currently in the nest. Don't you want to fly freely like the young bird? All authoritarian systems are nests. Can there be prospects for those crowded and fussing within these nests for an extended period? All religions are nests. Can there be prospects for those dreaming with closed eyes within these nests for an extended period? Like the big bird, Life Genuine aims to encourage the young birds to leave the nest. Only by flying out of the nest can you understand the benevolent evil of Life Genuine. Soar into the world, and it becomes yours. Remain behind, and it leads to a dead end. 时来运转. Time brings changes in fortune. Xiefeng. February 7, 2007. Translation edited by Qin Yu. All things await their opportune moment to act. When it arrives, greenery flourishes, insects take flight, solid ice melts, thunder is born. When the time has not come, no storms brew, flowers lack buds, gold appears as iron, and even geniuses seem mediocre. All things await their moment to act. When it arrives, injustices are revealed, secrets come to light. The scenery changes from fortune to misfortune. When it's not time, the oxen bully the tigers, cats fear mice, diligent studies go unnoticed, exceptional talents seem worthless. Time, geographical advantage, support of people, time takes precedence. Even with remarkable talent and ambitions spanning the universe, without favorable timing, one can only sip the northwest wind. Even with a heart of passion, without opportune timing, one's efforts find no outlet. Time brings changes in fortune. Without opportune timing, fortunes do not change. Even with full seeds, they'll lie dormant underground. Even with brilliant minds, they'll reside in obscure places. Even with perfect plans, they'll gather dust. Even with resounding voices, they'll only shout in vain. At the right moment, in the turning of fortunes, the ugly duckling may become a white swan. A cowherd leads 1,000,000 valiant soldiers. A golden phoenix emerges from a mountain nest, and barren lands transform into lucrative markets. Those who bowed their heads lift them high, while those who once held their heads high bow their heads. For some, wealth flows in abundantly, and their career paths are clear. For others, they stumble and face poverty and illness. The heavens have their fortune, nations have theirs, individuals too. If the heavens' fortune falters, so does a nation's, and thus an individual's. If a nation's fortune wanes, it's hard for an individual's fortune to turn. Grass and trees know their seasons. In spring, they thrive. Wise individuals discern opportune moments and create grand achievements in due time. Failing to act when necessary leads to missed opportunities and bad luck. Inappropriately, forcefully, or foolishly acting when one should not turn good fortune into misfortune. Sprouting in winter leads to inevitable demise. Budding in autumn leads to fruitlessness. Sprouting in spring is opportune. Time is fortune. When time brings change, it might be favorable or adverse, depending on one's perception. Time, ever-changing, constantly seeks auspicious winds and timely rains, seeking prosperity for the nation, peace for the people, and harmony throughout the world. With everyone's well-being, there comes good fortune. In the face of widespread misery, personal good fortune is elusive. Fortune is transformative. Apparent good fortune may be substantial misfortune, and apparent misfortune may be substantial good fortune. If heaven intends to grant people good fortune, it might first befall them with misfortune. If heaven intends to bring misfortune to people, it might bestow apparent good fortune first. Whether it is calamity or fortune, it all depends on one's own perspective. 3 elements constitute fortune: life structure, genes, gestation period, and timing. Life structure determines the broad trajectory of fortune. An egg can only hatch into a chick, not into an eagle. A dragon begets a dragon. A phoenix begets a phoenix. A mouse's offspring dig holes. We cannot grow into corn. Ordinary people cannot become geniuses. Not all cowherds can command 1,000,000 soldiers. Not all music students become Bach, Beethoven, or Mozart. Not all compassionate individuals become Jesus, Buddha, or Muhammad. Not all college dropouts become Bill Gates. The transformation of fortune requires a gestation period. 10 months pregnancy leads to 1 day of childbirth. Peach trees take 3 years, apricots take 4, and walnut trees need 18 years to bear fruits. Without or insufficient gestation, even with opportune timing, fortune is hard to transform. Inspiration favors the contemplative, opportunities embrace the prepared mind, and miracles do not happen on the desert of the soul. Those who eagerly await good fortune must accumulate the basic materials in that direction. Waiting aimlessly will not bring good fortune. All preparations ready, just waiting for the east wind. Only with complete preparation can one utilize the east wind. Without readiness, even with the wind blowing, the fire cannot burn at Chibi. Similarly, without the wind rising, all prior preparations are meaningless. Therefore, good fortune also depends on timing. The 5th, 9th, 11th, 14th, 16th, 17th, 34th, 53rd, and 56th hexagrams of the Book of Changes primarily discuss cultivating and awaiting the opportune moment, awaiting changes in fortune. The cart travels on the road. The horse runs on the track. People walk on paths. Immortals tread immortal paths. Without changing the trajectory of life, a dog remains a dog, and commoners remain commoners. Even when the time comes, it only smooths the trajectory but does not change it. It means that people cannot become immortals. To transition from the trajectory of a human life to that of an immortal, One needs to foster the structure of an immortal life, then step into the immortal path at the opportune moment. Times are changing. Take the opportune moment. The era of networking, combined with the consciousness of the new age, acts as a catalyst for transforming one's life fortune. Today, the information we receive in a day surpasses that of an entire year in the past. Old systems are gradually disintegrating, even collapsing. The times create heroes, and the consciousness of the new age shapes higher dimensional lives. When the time comes, seize the opportunity, align with the international system. Embrace the lifestyle of the immortals, and in doing so, great fortune awaits. 魔鬼的钓饵 Satan's bait. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. A friend once shared the art of fishing with me, mentioning the method of using pig feed, vitamins, essential balm, and eggs as bait to lure fish to the hook. The revelation was heart-stopping. Poor fish. How would they know that this tantalizing aroma was nothing but pig feed? How could they comprehend that this bait, disguised as something appealing, spells disaster once consumed? To these fish, the fisherman is the devil. For the devil, these fish are utterly naive. A few simple tricks and they're hooked. In the water, fish only see the fragrant food, oblivious to the devil on the shore. The fish's devil is humans. Then, who is the devil for humans? The mantis hunts the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. The oriole hunts the mantis, unaware of the cobra behind. The cobra hunts the oriole, unaware of the eagle behind. The eagle hunts the cobra, humans behind. Humans hunt the eagle, the devil behind. The devil hunts humans, and behind the devil is the greatest creator. All seek immediate gain, ignoring what comes after. Humans fish, and the devil fishes humans. Humans employ all sorts of tricks to lure the fish. The devil uses all sorts of tricks to hook humans. Adding vitamins, essential balm, and eggs to pig feed lures fish to the hook, just as the devil casts money, power, and lust into the human world, luring humans to the hook. The fish do not know it's a human trap. Humans do not know it's the devil's scheme. The fish cannot see the person behind the trap. Humans cannot see the devil behind the scheme. Ah, fish. Ah, humans. Beware. 生命是这样腐烂发臭的. Life rots and stinks like this. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Today, July 14, 2004, while preparing dinner for my beloved and child, I was frying eggplant and thought of adding some garlic. I fetched a plastic bag containing stored garlic from the storage, opened the bag, and picked a clove. To my surprise, the garlic was darkened, and upon breaking it open, it was rotten. Emptied out all the cloves. Not a single one was spared. It's odd. Normally, garlic does not rot for several months. So why did this bag, purchased just a month ago, turn rotten and stinky? Suddenly, I recalled an incident during a summer business trip within the country. After washing my face with a towel in the morning, I absent-mindedly placed the damp towel inside a plastic bag. I forgot to remove it that day, and the next day when I retrieved it to wash my face again, a gentle twist broke it into two sections. The reason lay in the fact that the moist towel, in the sweltering heat, confined within the plastic bag without contact with external air, turned stale. The gases of staleness within the plastic bag caused the towel to decay, reducing its strength and elasticity, thus making it easily breakable. Yes, the garlic's rot and stink in the plastic bag resulted from its lack of contact with external air. Ordinarily, garlic is placed in a basket, allowing air circulation, hence it remains unchanged for months. It seems that everything material, when not allowed to circulate with external air, inevitably rots and stinks. If material things are like this, then what about non-material things? If a family only allows internal marriages without intermingling with other families, after several generations, this family will inevitably perish. A nation that does not interact with other nations, confined within a singular cultural circle, will eventually decay. A country that isolates itself, refraining from interactions with other nations, will surely decline. Now, what about an individual? If they do not learn from others, avoid communication, isolate themselves, and keep their mental windows closed, over time, they will inevitably become rigid, stubborn, experience ideological stagnation, leading to decay, stagnation, and eventually death. An individual, a family, a nation, a country, such is the case. What about religious groups? Historically, some disappearing religions have also attributed their decline to self-righteousness and arrogance. It's foreseeable that present religions like Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, etc., if they hold on to an attitude of superiority, refusing to engage in mutual exchange, cutting themselves off contact with the external air, will inevitably rot and stink as well. The question now is, how can human life prevent rot and stench? The human being is composed of two parts, a material body and a spiritual soul. If the material body does not engage in exchange with the external elements such as air, water, and energy, it will inevitably decay and emit an unpleasant odor, ultimately leading to death. Similarly, if the spiritual soul does not connect with the divine source of the universe, the greatest creator, the soul will also decay and emit an unpleasant odor, resulting in death. A more intriguing question is, if life on Earth chooses to seal itself off and refuses to engage in spiritual communication and contact with life forms beyond Earth, will it also rot, stink, and eventually die? 有眼无珠与买椟还珠. Seeing without recognizing and the folly of buying the casket and returning the jewel. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Everyone desires to possess treasures, be it rare diamonds or exquisite jade, be it wise mentors and supportive friends, or virtuous and beautiful women. It's the intrinsic value that triggers people's longing and pursuit. Among all treasures, the most valuable is the truth that allows life to extend towards higher-level space, the spirit of the greatest creator and the pure and kind hearts of humanity. Treasures are everywhere, appearing and hiding at every turn. Why can't we see or find them? It's because we are blind to the jewel. In 1995, our family hired a lady for the first time. This lady, named Rebecca, learned to cook Chinese food in just 3 days. After she tidied up the house, it was sparkling clean, spotless, well-organized, and neat. Every day, after my beloved and I returned home from work and the kid came back from school, she stood at the door to welcome us, showing concern and casually taking the kid's school bag and our purchases. It felt like we were reuniting with long-lost relatives. Inside the dining room, a table of not-so-sumptuous yet delectable dishes always awaited us. The day's fatigue dissipated in this warm and harmonious atmosphere. At that time, my residence had no flowers or plants outside. However, since Rebecca arrived, she managed to bring in some exotic plants and flowers. 2 months later, flowers blossomed in front and behind the house, creating a splendid scene. Unfortunately, due to our move, we had to let her go after 6 months. More foolishly, we lost the note with her address. A rare and precious jewel was thus lost. Every time we think of Rebecca, my beloved and I deeply sigh, regretting immensely. Such a wonderful woman. Where else could we find her? I am someone who is blind to the jewel. The gem is right in front of us, but we do not cherish it. Once it's gone from us, it's hard to trace it again. One wrong step causes everlasting regret. Discarding the jewel hurts the heart the most. Who should be blamed when blind to the jewel? Blame no one but your own blindness. Blindness to the jewel not only hinders its discovery, but also ensures its eventual loss even if acquired. The story of buying the casket and returning the jewel is due to the people of Zheng State only seeing the gorgeously decorated wooden box but not recognizing the gem inside, leading to a lamentable event spanning ages. The ancients had their foolishness, just as modern individuals can be ignorant. Often encountering bookworms, their memory may be strong, their reasoning abilities not weak. They can eloquently expound on principles, citing references after references. Yet, besides regurgitating some worn-out cliches, there's not a glimmer of wisdom in their discourse. It's not problematic if they lack their own thoughts. However, they insist on using history to shackle and restrict the development of reality, speaking only in traditions and orthodoxy. It's akin to the scholars and Pharisees of Jesus' time. Although Jesus preached the truth, they spouted dogmas, pretending to uphold orthodoxy, vehemently hindering the spread of truth. These individuals are like the people of Zheng State, interested not in the gem within the box, but in the gorgeously adorned wooden box containing the gem. The truly invaluable gem lies within people's hearts. If we do not protect the gem in our hearts but blindly pursue the externally decorated wooden box, are we not like the people of Zheng State buying the casket and returning the jewel? 回应天启，走出迷途. Responding to the revelation, finding the way out. Xiefeng, August 16, 2005. Translation edited by Qinyu. A lightning bolt streaks across the expansive sky, accompanied by distant rolling thunder, foretelling an impending storm. On September 11th, the towering and sturdy World Trade Center collapsed abruptly, trapping people inside. If someone had warned those inside the building of its imminent collapse and urged them to evacuate, would they have heeded the advice? Nonsense. How could such a solid, world-class building collapse? They might have replied in disbelief. Humans, how much do you understand the mysteries of the universe? How much do you comprehend? Why don't you respond to the revelations? Someone explicitly tells you that he is a messenger of the greatest creator. Here too, harvest the crops, yet you mock, ridicule, and scorn him. Even when, in humility, he kneels before you as a commoner, begging for your response to the revelations, you continue to mock, ridicule, and scorn him. What kind of person do you need to save you? The immense love of the greatest creator for humanity, the care from God Jesus Christ, and Buddha Shakyamuni for humanity have been clearly and evidently revealed to you. Do you desire wealth or life? Life or your status, wealth and reputation? Which is more important? There was a notorious pirate who amassed countless treasures. One day, he was caught. In court, he arrogantly told the judge, "I have countless treasures. I'm willing to give up 1/3 of my wealth to buy my freedom." The judge replied, "You've committed robbery and murder. Your wealth cannot buy your freedom." Judge, "I'm willing to give up all my treasures to save my life. You should know, my wealth is enough for the whole nation to spend for 3 years. People die for wealth. Birds perish for food. Don't people love wealth?" The pirate began pleading. The judge resolutely replied, "Debts must be repaid, and life must pay for murder. Your wealth wasn't rightfully earned. It was plundered. The law is not negotiable. I declare that tomorrow at 3 in the afternoon, you will be hanged." The pirate, with tears of regret, lamented, "Had I known that wealth couldn't spare my life, why did I strive so ardently to amass it?" Human laws are not child's play. They cannot be bargained with, let alone the laws of the greatest creator. Don't be stubborn, do not falter, do not retreat midway, do not be captured by demons. Ignite the divine lamp within your heart, seize the moment. Transcend the shackles of life and death, reclaim your true nature, discard conventional thinking, advance at superluminal speeds, abandon all possessions, firmly believe in the journey of life. Don't look around, do not heed others' words, do not run with the crowd, do not feel lonely and forsaken. The key to opening the gates of heaven lies in your hands. You need only ponder quietly, listen to the guidance of your inner spirit. Don't wait for torrential rains to build an ark. Do not wait for the Titanic to hit an iceberg to search for life jackets. Do not wait to see a bombing plane before rushing out of the building. Once everything becomes apparent, it's too late. Your eastern land, due to its vastness, sparse population, and abundant resources, has fallen into a state of excessive greed, rampant killing, widespread falsehoods, and deceitfulness. Many are unfaithful, unfilial, unkind, and unjust. Now, I bring the Tripitaka, capable of transcending life and death, to save all beings. Your eastern land, ignoring the Tripitaka Buddha scriptures, your sky is low, your earth thin, your resources scant, and your population dense. You do not believe in gods, Buddhas, despise laws and heaven. Yet you still indulge in excessive greed, rampant killing, widespread falsehoods, and deceitfulness. Many are unfaithful, unfilial, unkind, and unjust. Your eastern land disregards Buddhas and the greatest creators, unaware of how to be human. Ears but deaf, hearts but void, as fragile as paper, as lofty as the sky, spirits desolate, hearts like stones, still stubbornly refusing to heed teachings, superficially humble, but inwardly arrogant. I now call again, hoping for a response to the revelations, a return from the misguided path. If delayed or procrastinated, divine punishment will follow. The vast heavens perceive your hearts. The myriad gods know your names. The sun, moon, and cosmic laws observe your deeds. In the vast expanse of existence, life takes precedence. In the limitless desert, retracing steps leads to the oasis. Every millennium is but a fleeting moment. The righteous path is the only way. Respond to the revelations and find your way out of the maze. Others may doubt. I believe. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. A friend from Tianjin visited my office the day before yesterday and inquired about matters related to space and time. I asked him why he was interested in such questions. He said, "Not long ago, I had a dream. My grandfather appeared and told me that after using the toilet, he suddenly fainted before standing up, unable to get up. He said he was leaving and urged us to live well while he waited. The next day, my father called from China, saying my grandfather had passed away. He told me my grandfather had collapsed and passed away while using the toilet. I found it quite strange. How could my dream about my grandfather match the actual events? What's going on with time and space?" I asked him if he had watched the Life-Echanuant section on Chinese Soul, and he mentioned that he had seen some of it. However, due to the extensive content, he hadn't watched it all. I responded, "Your grandfather left this physical space and entered another dimension of life. Due to his concern for you, he conveyed his inner thoughts to you through a dream before departing from this space. This is entirely normal. Your elevated spiritual sensitivity allowed you to connect with your grandfather's thoughts. There's nothing mysterious about it." Taking the opportunity, I asked, "Do you believe in the immortality of the soul and in the existence of other dimensions of life apart from our current space?" He replied, "While others may doubt, I believe." Belief, such a mysterious and profound word. Peter, a disciple of Jesus, walked on water because of belief, but almost drowned when he saw the wind and waves and lost belief. Those with belief are blessed. Those without belief are miserable. Those with belief have roots. Those without belief are like floating duckweeds. Those with belief know how to navigate life. Those without belief randomly fly like headless flies. Those with belief are humble. Those without belief are arrogant. Those with belief have a bright future. Those without belief have a bleak one. What to believe in? Believe in facts. Believe in what you see, hear, and experience. Whom to believe in? Believe in Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Laozi, and the sages. What to believe in? Believe in the negative universe information sensed by your spiritual perception. Whom to believe in? Believe in the greatest creator. Many people doubt everything, do not believe in anything, lack faith in themselves, and have no confidence. Some start with belief, but, swayed by phenomena and others' opinions, lose faith even in facts. They cannot sustain their faith, vacillating between belief and doubt until they believe in nothing. Some seem to believe but harbor doubts, so when confronted with storms, they lose their foothold and are devoured by demons. Some people's faith is mere lip service, steering with the wind, changing with their immediate self-interest. In reality, their hearts lack genuine belief. Today, they believe when it's advantageous, and tomorrow, they do not when it's not. How can one live without faith? What is the purpose of such a life? Where is it headed? Job in the Bible is an exemplar of faith. Apostle Paul is an exemplar of faith, and several bodhisattvas in Buddhism have also set examples of faith for us. Many believers in Islam are also exemplars of faith. Without faith, one cannot stand firm. I said to my friend, "Your dream aligning with reality can be considered a revelation. While the world may harbor doubts, you cannot afford to. Doubting would betray your grandfather's wishes and the revelation." In the end, my friend reiterated, "While others may harbor doubts, I remain steadfast in my belief." Friend, do you also believe? 于无声处响惊雷. Shocking thunderclap in silence. Xiefeng. August 16, 2005. Translation edited by Qin Yu. That was a day on the Christmas of the previous year. I was driving a van, transporting 8 employees from my store to a fast food restaurant and bar I owned, about 10 kilometers away, to celebrate Christmas. Just as we pulled up to the entrance of the bar, we heard a clack sound, and the left front wheel dropped, tilting the vehicle to the left. Quickly checking, I discovered the axle supporting the left wheel had completely snapped. After a week, I had the car towed to Sadie Motor for repairs. The shop owner, holding the fractured axle, asked me, "Why didn't the car overturn?" I replied, "The axle broke only as the car came to a stop. That's why it didn't overturn." That British gentleman sighed, saying, "A miracle, the greatest creator's protection. In such a situation, the car should have flipped, causing injuries. How did it break only after the car stopped?" He then pointed at the fracture and explained, "This axle began breaking at least half a year ago. It didn't snap suddenly but deteriorated bit by bit. Its complete fracture was inevitable. It should have happened during driving. You're very lucky." Initially, I didn't care for the analysis, but after hearing his explanation, I felt terrified. I usually drive fast. If the axle had snapped during high-speed driving, not only would everyone in the car have been in danger, but other vehicles around might also have faced disaster. That was close. The axle had been gradually breaking for months, yet I remained oblivious. Thunder lurked in silence. Disasters hid within calm waters. Unseen perils surfaced unnoticed amid the excitement and joy. How can one prevent such occurrences? Since then, I have started contemplating the latent crises within nature. Earthquakes, typhoons, volcanic eruptions, tornadoes, plagues, wars, floods, landslides, droughts, pestilence, sandstorms, accidents, plane crashes, collapsed walls, dam breaches, land subsidence, strokes, sudden power outages, water stoppages, social unrest, riots, and other unforeseen calamities all exhibit early signs of axle fractures. People typically care about results or consequences, rarely focusing on the gradual axle deterioration leading up to them. People often live in regret, never considering early checks and preventive measures. Furthermore, since axle fractures happen gradually and invisibly, they are easily overlooked. Even if someone predicts a disaster in advance, not many believe it. This guy's exaggerating, talking nonsense, or has ulterior motives. What's the solution? Think about Noah building his ark on the mountaintop. How many ridiculed and mocked him? Currently, Life Genuine has faced and will continue to face ridicule, mockery, and cold indifference from many. Among all these axle fractures, my focus is on the fate and future of humanity. It seems that the greatest creator, God Jesus, and Buddha Shakyamuni have particularly favored me, granting me the key to unlock the treasury of wisdom and authority to establish Life Genuine, bestowing upon me the honor of harvesting crops. People, I know you will not easily believe me. In Jesus' era, how many truly believed in Jesus? How many truly believed in Buddha Shakyamuni? How many truly understood Muhammad and Laozi? Many talk about the greatest creator, Allah, the ancestor of Buddha, Emperor Chakra, the heavens, or the divine, but how many genuinely follow them? Many speak of Tao manifests itself in nature. What is nature? Do you understand? Some claim that Xiefeng is creating the greatest creator, that he aspires to be its spokesperson. Oh, ignorant ones, can the greatest creator be created? Is Xiefeng's, the chapter of the greatest creator, creating the greatest creator? Who in human history has explained the greatest creator as comprehensively as the chapter of the greatest creator? Thunder and silence exists. If you don't believe it, just wait and see. But I'll caution everyone in advance. Do not come running later, shouting, "Greatest creator, now I believe," after the axle breaks. By then, it'll be too late, and no one can save you. 上帝对人类的审判随时随地进行. The greatest creator's judgment of humanity occurs at all times and in all places. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. All major religions mention Judgment Day, or the judgment by the king of hell in the netherworld. However, after exploring the 36-dimensional spaces, I haven't discovered a designated place for judgment. The greatest creator has never assigned a fixed date for a collective or individual judgment of humanity. So, how did this notion of a judgment day originate? One reason could be a mistaken understanding of divine teachings. Those who recorded the words of gods or Buddhas might have misinterpreted the meanings or added their own cleverness and wisdom when translating the divine words. The other reason is that people mainly focus on outcomes, neglecting the processes that lead to them. People see death as life's conclusion, ignoring the process itself. Consequently, they believe that death marks life's end, and after death, souls face a final judgment. Such beliefs are erroneous. The concept of Judgment Day blasphemes the greatest creator, confuses humanity, and exacerbates life's hardships and misfortunes. It's a kind of magical power, a spell, a barrier and hindrance placed within human consciousness. The greatest creator's judgment and selection of humanity, both collectively and individually, occur anytime, anywhere. There is not a final judgment. It's immediate, executed by Tao rather than by gods, Buddhas, or any celestial beings. How does Tao judge people? Up to this point, I've outlined in other articles what Tao is. In the Bible, it says, Tao is the greatest creator. However, there's a meaning not yet revealed. The greatest creator is not Tao. Tao is the greatest creator. The greatest creator is not Tao. How to understand this? Mao Zedong thought is Mao Zedong, but Mao Zedong is not Mao Zedong thought. Wang Mazi's consciousness is Wang Mazi, but Wang Mazi is not consciousness. China's laws represent China, but China is not its laws. Tao manifests itself in nature, means Tao follows the will of the greatest creator. The will of the greatest creator corresponds to the spirit of the greatest creator. Tao and the spirit of the greatest creator are synonymous. Although the meaning of Tao is vast and profound, in this context, Tao is specifically defined as the spiritual law that upholds the orderly functioning of the universe and the cycle of life. Although the Diamond Sutra may not explicitly expound on the concept of Tao, those of superior wisdom who comprehend the sutra would undoubtedly understand that what Shakyamuni Buddha repeatedly elucidates is essentially Tao. All phenomena are illusory. The Dharma cannot be grasped, expressed, nor is it truly Dharma or non-Dharma. What is referred to as the Buddha's Dharma is, in reality, not the Buddha's Dharma. The Dharma is neither real nor unreal. The Dharma is a quality, without high or low. Regarding the Dharma, there is no notion of extinction. That which is referred to as the appearance of the Dharma is, in fact, not the appearance of the Dharma. This is called the appearance of the Dharma. All sages are differentiated by the Dharma of non-attachment. If we purely understand Tao as the greatest creator's law, it might lead us to liken the greatest creator's law to the country's laws. It's easy to regard the greatest creator's law as dead dogma. The laws of the greatest creator, Tao, cannot be fully explained in words. Why? Because the greatest creator's law is spiritual, alive. Laozi and Buddha earnestly imparted to us this layer of meaning regarding Tao. Now we understand. Tao is the spiritual law that sustains the orderly operation of the universe and the cycle of life. So, let's see how Tao judges humanity, both collectively and individually, at any time, in any place. When Chinese people cook, it's inevitable that frying and cooking will lead to the accumulation of grease around the kitchen walls and ceilings. We have to ask whether this layer of grease formed all at once or gradually built up with each instance of frying and cooking. Look inside a smoker's teeth. They turn dark due to smoking. When did this discoloration occur? Not after one cigarette, right? It's the accumulation of repeated smoking. When someone suffers a sudden heart attack or stroke, is it caused by a single instance of low vitality or inadequate blood supply, or an immediate surge of heart fire? Unlikely. Was the sudden earthquake in Tangshan the result of a single tectonic shift? Does the emergence of a dust storm result merely from pulling out a few blades of grass or cutting down a few trees? When someone is abruptly elevated to a central government position, is it purely coincidental? When someone unexpectedly gets a chance to study abroad, is it solely an opportunity? When someone dies in a car accident, is it just misfortune? Aren't there accumulations of various factors behind these events? 10 years to nurture trees, 100 years to cultivate individuals, gathering streams to form rivers, accumulating grievances to lead to disasters. If one consumes 9 steamed buns, does it mean only the ninth bun satisfies hunger, while the preceding 8 are wasted? Is poverty the fault of the heavens? Does it not have its own causes and consequences? Is it unfairness of the greatest creator? When a billionaire is suddenly assassinated, does it lack causes and consequences? Is it the injustice of the heavens? Without the accumulation of quantity, there can be no qualitative transformation. Without personal effort and dedication, there can be no happy life. Without profound contemplation, wisdom is unattainable. Without the manifestation of love, the Spirit will not descend. Without spiritual living, one can never enter the higher realms of life. Enumerating the above simple truths, I want to illustrate that the judgment of Tao on humanity, punishment, and reward is happening at all times and everywhere. When thirsty, drink some water to solve the problem immediately. When in need to urinate, release it promptly to make the body comfortable right away. In an instant, there is eternity. Understanding that the judgment of Tao, reward, and punishment is immediate, accurate, impartial, and intangible, a life of wisdom should be lived like this. Regardless of the circumstances, rich or poor, influential or powerless, renowned or scorned by others, the key is to pay attention to one's next action. Avoid punishments from Tao and strive to receive rewards. Specifically, first, believe in the greatest creator and hold gratitude in your heart. Second, listen to the teachings of gods and Buddhas. Do not dismiss them as superstition. The teachings of gods and Buddhas are treasures of wisdom and the guidebook of life, absolutely devoid of any malice. When tempted to engage in corruption, remember that Tao is present. Tao wields a knife in one hand and holds the gem of life in the other. If you engage in corruption, the knife will be at your throat. If you resist corruption, Tao will embed the gem of life in the non-material structure of your life. Likewise, when you have trash in your hands, do you casually throw it on the street? Or do you take a few extra steps to put it in the trash bin? When seeking revenge, do you continue to retaliate and harm others? Or do you forgive and show mercy? When encountering a prostitute, do you engage in promiscuity? Or do you go home to your spouse? When presented with a bargain, do you scheme to take advantage? Or do you live an honest life? At the entrance of a casino, do you go in and gamble? Or do you turn and leave? When a brother or sister is in trouble, do you do your best to help? Or do you abandon them? When faced with conflicting interests, do you compete? Or do you yield? When you see the nation on the verge of collapse, do you actively strive to turn the tide? Or do you act opportunistically and add fuel to the fire? Sow thorns, and they will obstruct your path. Plant willows, and you will not taste apples. Reap what you sow, gourds from gourd seeds, beans from bean seeds. Divine punishments, though slow, are always sure. With big meshes, yet letting nothing slip through the law of cause and effect is precise to the smallest detail. Human management often leads to numerous mistakes due to insufficient wisdom and spiritual flaws, whereas the operation of Tao never errs. The greatest reward by following Tao is the evolution of your life's non-material structure towards a higher level of life. Understanding this principle, even if someone were to offer us all the treasures in the world, we would remain unmoved. Ascending to this level of life allows one to act effortlessly and tread the path of life smoothly. Tao is judging us at all times and in all places. Let us follow Tao. 花香蝶自来，心境仙人至. Fragrances will attract butterflies to flowers, and pure hearts will be frequented by celestial beings. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Foreign dignitaries visiting often opt for stays in 5-star hotels, never considering ordinary roadside inns. Recluses choose picturesque mountains and rivers as their places of cultivation, avoiding desolate and barren lands. Virtuous ministers select noble leaders to serve, while birds choose worthy trees for their nests. Harlots attract promiscuous men, and debauches specialize in tempting women seeking extramarital affairs. Gamblers revel in murky, obscure environments, while sages prefer abodes with serene and fresh air. The environment not only shapes species but is also shaped by them, just as filthy places attract flies, while blooming flowers welcome bees and butterflies. Planting different trees attracts different birds. People who browse the internet daily tend to favor websites that suit their temperament and personality, occasionally visiting other sites. Birds of a feather flock together, and individuals group based on shared interests. Scammers and thieves find it easy to communicate with each other, while sages seek companions with kindred spirits. In the eyes of lovers, beauty lies in the beholder, while evildoers may perceive others as troublemakers. Tyrants often surround themselves with sycophants. In the heart of enlightened beings, there are few living souls in the mundane world. A phoenix avoids barren lands. Enlightened souls do not consort with common folk. Rain avoids deserts. Peonies do not grow in the Gobi Desert. These are common sense, not needing exhaustive illustration. To those who have entered life genuine, I wish to convey, a pure heart attracts celestial beings. Consider this. When in a chaotic place, overwhelmed by countless tasks, it's hard to deeply contemplate a single matter or write a valuable article. Only in tranquility, free from desire, does the mind become sharp and clear, writing effortlessly, a state called, when the mind is calm, ideas flow naturally. A tangled mess is distressing for anyone who encounters it. In a society with disorder, it is difficult to establish a positive moral atmosphere. Noise is irritating, music brings joy, orderly lines are soothing, and the chaotic arrangement of structures in a painting disrupts one's thoughts. Higher quality life tends to favor order, while lower quality life leans toward chaos. Saints and sages would never guide people towards rebellion, rioting, plunder, or bloodshed. Those with distorted mindsets eagerly anticipate chaos in the world, hoping for frequent government overthrows, thinking, why isn't the world in chaos yet? Chaos is good. Amidst the chaos, one can fish in troubled waters and seize power. The virtuous individuals who enter the life genuine community appreciate order and abhor violence and plunder. Even amid a storm, they remain as the wind blows, the mountain stands still, leaves fall silently. This is not a matter of moral quality, but rather a question of life quality. Disorder ravages life. If scorching sun today, biting cold tomorrow, morning serene, afternoon a deluge, month after month, year after year, can there still be traces of life on this earth? If a person's emotions fluctuate unpredictably, desiring to engage in business today, aspiring for politics tomorrow, thinking of marrying Xiao Wang in the morning, and wanting to wed Lu in the afternoon, month after month, year after year, can they still lead a long life? So, what does a pure heart attract celestial beings mean? A pure heart signifies a state of tranquility and order within the mind. In this state, the heart resembles a babbling brook, a field adorned with blooming flowers, a serene and elegant garden, towering and overlapping mountain ranges, a tranquil lake with rippling waves, a blue sky with drifting clouds, and the vast expanse of the starry night sky. When the heart resides in such a state, life thrives, divine blessings abound, and celestial beings visit. How to achieve purity of heart? In the intermediate stages of cultivation, I discussed that a heart harboring evil thoughts is impure, a deluded and fantasizing mind is impure, an incessantly greedy heart is impure, seeking undue advantage taints the heart, deceitful behavior soils the heart, speaking nonsense stains the heart, insulting gods and Buddhas clouds the heart, disrespecting parents darkens the heart, engaging in conflict, killing, and robbery contaminates the heart, ambiguous thoughts obscure the heart, and impure body defiles the heart. A dirty and disorderly living space pollutes the heart. Deception, fraud, and manipulation sully the heart. Lacking compassion stains the heart. Ignorance and irrationality darken the heart. And blasphemy against the greatest creator stains the heart. A purified state of mind is the realm of celestial beings. Achieving this state naturally attracts the presence of celestial beings for spiritual guidance. A pure heart attracts celestial beings. The words spoken by Jesus, Buddha, Shakyamuni, and Laozi all emanate from a pure state of mind. Attaining purity of heart enables one to tap into the wisdom of Buddhas and celestial beings. Understanding the teachings of Jesus, Buddha, and lousy becomes as effortless as turning one's hand because, as the saying goes, fragrances attract butterflies to flowers, and pure hearts are frequented by celestial beings. 无能为力需外力. When powerless, seek external help. Xiefeng, May 30th, 2021. Translation edited by Chinyo. The tender branches of the rose bushes in front of the guest rooms have grown to a length of 2 inches, while those by the roadside are just starting to sprout. Why? I had always thought it was due to temperature. The rose bushes in front of the guest rooms are sheltered from the wind, resulting in slightly higher temperatures, while those by the roadside are constantly exposed to the wind, leading to lower temperatures. This morning, when I finally got around to clearing the weeds next to the roadside rose bushes, I realized it should have been done earlier. As I cleared the weeds, I discovered that their roots had deeply penetrated the rose bushes, particularly a type of weed resembling alfalfa, which had grown vigorously, with roots extending more than 3 inches and a well-developed root system. Along with other grasses, they not only tightly wrapped around the rose bushes, but also made the soil extremely compact and impermeable. It turns out that the weak growth of the roadside rose bushes was mainly caused by the weeds, not the temperature. I cleared the weeds around the rose bushes in front of the guest rooms more than 20 days ago and loosened the soil, resulting in vigorous growth. However, due to the failure to timely clear the weeds, the roadside rose bushes lacked energy and their growth was weak. While clearing the weeds around the rose bushes, I realized a truth. If there is no powerful external force to help the rose bushes remove the weeds competing for energy, although the rose bushes will not die, their growth will definitely be weak, and they probably won't even produce a few bright flowers. The revelation is, when powerless, seek external help. Many people in the world are like the rose bushes by the roadside, trapped in difficulties. Without the intervention and assistance of external forces, they will never be able to escape their predicament. The outcome is like that of the 6-member Yang Galen family who committed suicide. Even though many people continue to struggle to survive in difficult circumstances, they live without dignity, confidence, hope, or joy. So, where does external help come from? There are many factors that constitute external help, but the most fundamental and effective one is the greatest creator. For example, for the rose bushes I nurture, the only reliable external help is me because I am the one nurturing and caring for them. Similarly, as human beings are created by the greatest creator is looking after them. They rely on the greatest creator, their ancestor, just as the rose bushes can only rely on me, their caretaker. When we find ourselves in difficulties, instead of praying for other external forces to help us overcome them, we should rely on the greatest creator. Whether the greatest creator sends a small boat, a speedboat, an airplane, or mobilizes other more powerful people or factors to help us out of difficulties, it is all part of the arrangement of the Tao. Zero Du Qi Sir. Revelation of 0 degree. Xiefeng, March 4th, 2022. Translation edited by Chinyo. Living in the northern part of Canada, there's a particular sensitivity to 0 degrees. If the temperature remains at or below 0 degrees Celsius, the snow won't melt. But once the temperature exceeds 0 degrees, even reaching just 1 degree above zero, the melting of ice and snow begins. 0 degrees is a turning point. Below zero is solid, while above zero is liquid. I have a cold storage room where the temperature is maintained at 2 to 4 degrees Celsius. This helps prevent food from rotting and being damaged by freezing. However, whenever the outdoor temperature drops to over -30 degrees Celsius, if I'm not careful, the temperature in the cold storage room can drop below zero. Once it reaches 0 degrees Celsius or below, most of the preserved vegetables will freeze and become inedible. 0 degrees is a sign of life or death. Above zero means life. Below zero is death. In physics, there's a term called the critical point, which is the point at which a qualitative change occurs in a substance. Similarly, in the realm of the mind and psychology, there's also a critical point. For example, when you insult or criticize someone, once your insults, criticisms, or accusations exceed the recipient's threshold, they will become angry, even violent. When mental pressure exceeds the threshold one can bear, a person may become depressed or even contemplate suicide. Once the development of something surpasses the critical point, 0 degrees, a qualitative change occurs. When an animal's consciousness surpasses the critical point, it becomes human. When a human's consciousness surpasses the critical point, they either become like animals or become immortals or Buddhas. This insight into 0 degrees reveals a law. Regardless of how many years one practices cultivation, if the perfection and transformation of life have not exceeded the critical point, they won't see any qualitative change. Even after tens of thousands of years of cultivation, if one's life evolution remains below the critical point, they will still be the same person. They won't become immortals or Buddhas. Therefore, many cultivators give up halfway because they can't see any results after years of cultivation, feeling discouraged and lost, and they stop practicing. The fundamental reason is that they haven't exceeded the critical point. Perhaps they were just one step away from it, but unfortunately, they didn't persevere, which is regrettable. Fruits fall off when ripe. If the stem doesn't fall, it's because the fruit is still growing. As long as the fruit is still growing, it's not considered ripe, and it hasn't surpassed the critical point. As long as the fruit isn't ripe and hasn't exceeded the critical point, the stem won't fall. Once the fruit ripens, the stem will surely fall. All things hover around the 0 degree point, sometimes below 0, sometimes above 0, constituting the cycle of life and death. If it remains below 0, it's dead. If it stays above 0, it's alive. If it perpetually remains above 0, it lives forever in paradise. Why does the greatest creator reside in the world of 0 degrees? Because the greatest creator is the pivot and origin of all movement and change. All transformations in the nature of life must pass through the greatest creator, the 0 degree point. Without passing through the greatest creator, the nature of life cannot undergo any changes. This is why we must reverence the greatest creator and follow the path of the greatest creator. 釜底抽薪是修炼成仙的最低成本途径. Pulling out the firewood from under the cauldron is the lowest cost path to immortal cultivation. Xiefeng. September 10, 2022. Translation edited by Chinyo. Recently, I received an insight. The cold storage door at the headquarters of Life-Genuine in Canada was difficult to open and close. It seemed that the ground was rising. With every rise, it blocked the door's movement. So, I filed the bricks on the ground multiple times. Each filing made the door slightly easier to open, although it still remained stiff. I even decided to call in professionals from a refrigeration company to address the issue. Not long ago, my son came to my place. I explained the problem with the cold storage door to him and asked if he could solve it. After carefully observing the situation, he proceeded to inspect the basement. He proposed 2 solutions. One was to remove all the floor tiles under the cold storage door and lower the height of the wooden boards underneath, while the other was to address the humidity problem in the basement. He found that the reason the floor tiles under the cold storage door had risen was due to excessive basement humidity. This humidity caused the wood beneath the tiles to swell. When I asked which solution could permanently solve the problem, he said it would be best to address the root cause by thoroughly resolving the high humidity in the basement. Otherwise, the problem would persist in the long term. It's worth noting here that the Life-Genuine headquarters in Canada is constructed entirely of wood. Now that the root of the problem was identified and removing the firewood from under the cauldron was the best solution to permanently resolve the issue, I decided to eliminate the high humidity in the basement. So, I sent my son to town to buy a dehumidifier. After the dehumidifier ran for 24 hours, the cold storage door became much easier to operate. 3 days later, the cold storage door was opening and closing smoothly. The phenomenon with the cold storage door led to an insight. Pulling out the firewood from under the cauldron is the lowest cost path to solving problems. For example, in various marital difficulties, these problems have persisted for thousands of years without resolution, despite attempts to address them through moral, ethical, social, or emotional teachings and constraints. In such cases, the most cost-effective way to eliminate marital problems is simply not to get married. As the saying goes, it is easy to have good relationships with everyone if we do not ask any favor from them. I would not care about the price of wine if I did not drink it. I don't drink, therefore, whether a bottle of Maudai sells for 300 or 30,000, I couldn't care less. Similarly, If someone feels that being a civil servant is restrictive and leads to poor relationships, the best way to address this annoyance is not to become a civil servant but to start a business. Likewise, if someone feels that the United States is not good or safe, the solution is simple. Leave the United States. If a company is plagued with numerous problems and the common people are struggling, the best way to address this issue is not to establish various regulations and legal provisions, nor is it to rely on moral teachings and various expert opinions to deceive people, and certainly not to increase punishment and fire more people. Instead, it is to directly replace the leader. History has proven that the leader is the core guarantee of the people's happiness and social stability. If this core is not functioning, replacing it will lead to a complete transformation at the lowest cost. So, what is the lowest cost path to becoming celestial beings? The answer is eliminating selfishness and ego. Without removing selfish desires and ego attachment, the path to becoming celestial beings becomes unreachable. 天才之路, the path of genius. Xiefeng, September 12, 2022. Translation edited by Chinyo. Elon Musk is undoubtedly a genius. Had Elon Musk remained in South Africa, would he have attained his current achievements? Unlikely, as South Africa lacks the nurturing environment necessary for such genius to thrive. Suppose Elon Musk were Chinese and lived in China. Would he dare to propose plans like colonizing Mars and creating the Starlink project? No, he wouldn't. At this point, he might have already been confined to a mental institution. The fact tells us that geniuses exist everywhere, but without the right environment and nurturing soil for growth, all geniuses will become waste. Therefore, finding the suitable soil and environment for one's growth is the primary choice on the path of genius. Christopher Columbus, who is credited with discovering the New World, was undoubtedly also a genius. Suppose Columbus's wife were still alive at the time. Would Columbus still dare to venture out to sea? The responsibility of providing for the family alone is demanding. How could one then find the time or inclination to embark on a perilous voyage? Additionally, supposing his wife possessed a narrow-minded and jealous nature, would she agree to his maritime adventures? She might ask, "Don't you love me anymore? Are you already planning to abandon me for another woman? How will I and the children survive if you don't return?" No, absolutely not. I refuse to let you go on a sea expedition. An unreasonable wife might assert, "As long as I'm alive, you'll remain at home and not go anywhere." I firmly believe that marriage and family bury half of the world's geniuses. Therefore, the second rule on the path of genius is not to be bound by trivial matters and mundane people. Hua Tuo, Li Shizhen, Bian Ke, Sun Simiao, Zhang Zhongjing, and others are undoubtedly medical geniuses. Suppose these famous doctors lived in today's China. They would be considered quacks. They would have either been detained on charges of practicing medicine without a license or forced to give up their medical practice. This means that for geniuses to fully utilize their innate talents, the timing of birth and growth must be appropriate, as even exotic flowers cannot survive in winter. In summary, soil, environment, freedom, and fortune are the path of genius, and none of these four elements can be lacking. This suggests that for every 10 geniuses, 9 go unrecognized or wasted. Without the appropriate soil and environment, geniuses will perish. Without a free living environment, geniuses cannot fulfill their ambitions, and unfavorable timing of birth and growth will suppress and oppress geniuses. People who can become celestial beings or Buddhas must be geniuses. Otherwise, how could they possess such high spirituality and perseverance? Since only geniuses can become celestial beings or Buddhas, the path to becoming a celestial being or a Buddha must also follow the path of genius, which includes suitable soil and environment, freedom to express one's personality and talents, and opportune timing. Therefore, to become a celestial being or Buddha, one must first seek and choose the soil and environment that can lead to celestial being and Buddha. Secondly, one must break free from all constraints on one's freedom. As for fortune, it is something beyond one's control. One can only leave it to fate. 门缝的启示, the revelation of the door gap. Xiefeng, December 21, 2022. Translation edited by Chinyo. Is there a gap between the door and the door frame? Even if the door fits snugly into the frame, there will still be a gap. When the temperature inside and outside the room is not significantly different, standing inside by the door, one may not feel any gap at all. However, when there is a substantial temperature difference between the inside and outside, standing by the door inside, one can feel the biting cold wind rushing in through the gap like a powerful stream of air. With the outside temperature below -30 degrees Celsius and the inside temperature around 15 to 16 degrees Celsius, even though there is no wind blowing outside, the huge temperature difference between inside and outside causes the cold air outside to rush in through the door gap like a hurricane. A pinhole-sized hole is not noticeable most of the time, but when there is a significant temperature difference between inside and outside, one can feel a continuous jet of cold air entering through the pinhole. This gives us some insight. Even between two people who are very close, there are still gaps. When the demands of two people are significant and cannot be satisfied by each other, cold air will enter through the gap. This is probably the fundamental reason why extramarital affairs continue to occur, let alone when the relationship between two people is not very intimate. The same applies to relationships between friends. When the temperature difference between them is not significant, friends can support each other through thick and thin. However, once the temperature difference increases, betrayal becomes inevitable. From this, we can draw a conclusion. In all relationships, whether between nations, individuals, or between humans and society or nature, harmony will prevail only by maintaining a balance of temperature between each other. Once the balance is disrupted, conflicts and disputes will arise. The greater the temperature difference, the greater the destructive power and severity of disasters. For example, in a husband-wife relationship, if both partners have similar abilities and there are no significant income disparities, the relationship is generally stable. However, once one party's abilities and income far exceed the others, there will be significant gaps in the marital relationship, and divorce may occur at any time when conditions are ripe. Similarly, in the relationships between nations, why are the relations between countries like the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada relatively close and strong, while countries like China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, Cuba, and Venezuela can come together in special circumstances? The reason is that the temperature difference between them is not significant. Once the temperature difference is stark, cold wars and hot wars become inevitable. This further suggests that to maintain harmonious and intimate relationships with others, the first step is to maintain a basic balance of temperature between each other. For peace and prosperity in the world, countries need to interact with each other and avoid isolationism. To prevent extreme cold, heat waves, droughts, and floods in nature, humans must maintain a balance with nature, and human exploitation of nature must not exceed the limits it can bear. Once exceeded, extreme heat, extreme cold, droughts, floods, and various viruses will emerge and wreak havoc. 利益越高，路越宽. The higher the aspiration, the wider the path. Xiefeng. October 20th, 2023. Translation edited by Chinyo. In places where competition is fierce, survival conditions become harsher, and relationships between people become more tense, making the acquisition of survival resources more brutal. The simpler and easier the pathway to obtain survival resources, the more intense the competition becomes. For a job that anyone can do, the more sought after it becomes, the fiercer the competition. For a job that only 1 in 10 people can do, the competition is relatively less fierce. Then, for a job that only 1 in 100, 1,000, 1,000,000, or 1,000,000,000 people can do, we find that the fewer people who can do it, the less competitive it is because there are not many people competing with oneself. For example, a surface coal mining company recruiting miners will attract many applicants. However, the Mariana Trench Exploration Company, due to the high difficulty involved, would likely struggle to find more than a few suitable candidates worldwide. A government unit recruiting civil servants, hiring 10 of them, may attract hundreds or thousands of applicants, making the competition fierce. But if Elon Musk is recruiting someone capable of controlling the global nuclear weapons button to prevent nuclear-armed countries from launching nuclear weapons, probably only very few people can be found in the world at present. In 1997, I went to the Harare labor market to recruit a male flower worker and a female worker for laundry, cleaning, and hygiene. When the car arrived at the market, before I could even get out of the car, many people surrounded it. There were many people who wanted to do flower work and household chores. Later, when I went to the market to recruit shop assistants, the situation was the same. Then, when I opened a bar and tried to recruit a bartender, there were very few suitable candidates. Later, when I opened a nightclub and tried to recruit a DJ mixer, I couldn't find one. I had to hire a GJ mixer instead. From this, we discovered a small secret, which is that if you want to find a job with low competition and high income in society, you must have special talents and be different from others. Without putting in effort and undergoing rigorous training during our upbringing, we can only compete with many others for our livelihood. This involves the question of the meaning of life. That is, from an early age, we must consider what kind of work or career to engage in. Each person has 24 hours a day, and where we allocate our time and energy is a major factor in whether we will be happy or not in our lives. Now, there are thousands of job types in front of us. Which one will you choose? For example, shining shoes, making shoes, repairing shoes, herding sheep, herding horses, farming, gardening, being a shop assistant, a police officer, a taxi driver, a delivery person, a grocery store manager, a restaurant owner, a teacher, a civil servant, a worker, a soldier, a workshop technician, an engineer, a professor, a painter, a doctor, a lawyer, a judge, a musician, a performer, an entrepreneur, a writer, and so on. We find that the faster the income comes, the simpler and more accessible the job is, and the more people can do it, the more intense the competition will be. For example, shining shoes on the street can bring income on the same day. Working as a laborer, a teacher, or a civil servant can bring income in the same month, and farming and gardening can bring income in the same season. However, to become a professor, an engineer, or an entrepreneur requires upfront investment, effort, and more investment. In conclusion, to avoid fierce competition and maximize income, one must first invest. The longer the investment period, the fewer competitors there will be, and the greater the benefits will be. At this point, we find that due to the need for survival or the pressure of survival, most people have given up investing and turned to seeking quick profits. They go where they can make money quickly and engage in work that can bring immediate gains. As a result, the number of elite individuals in all walks of life is decreasing, while outstanding individuals are becoming fewer and fewer, and the number of ordinary people is increasing. Everyone is familiar with the story of Mencius' mother moving 3 times. Why did Mencius' mother move 3 times? It was actually for her son's aspiration. In the end, because of his high aspirations, Mencius became a great thinker who has been passed down through the ages. The higher the aspiration, the more one must endure long-term solitary struggles. One must endure rigorous training and withstand the temptations of money, power, fame, and beauty. Additionally, one must persevere in focusing one's mind and spirit on one's ideals. Finally, one must invest one's time and energy in one's own career. Do not be hasty for quick success. Those who are hasty for quick success will never become outstanding figures. So, what is the highest aspiration? Whether it is herding sheep, shining shoes, farming, or becoming a professor, a doctor, or a financier, the ultimate result is death. It's considered good to live safely until the age of 70 or 80, thinking about life's brevity, tossing around, and eventually becoming a handful of ashes in a bone ash box. Thinking of such an end, all hopes are dashed. Therefore, we find that becoming a celestial being is the highest aspiration in life. Not only can one enjoy the joys of life to the fullest, but there is also a wonderful future ahead. Do you want to become a celestial being? 来世不落地王家的启示. The revelation of not born into a royal family in the next life. By Xiefeng. November 25, 2023. Translation edited by Qinyo. Looking through history, countless individuals born into royal families have met tragic fates, with many facing massacres or even complete annihilation. Even those who ascend to the throne, how many of them meet peaceful ends? Fathers and sons vie for power. Family members turn against each other, and siblings are torn apart. Once ousted from power, those associated with the emperor are often massacred. If they are imprisoned or exiled instead of being completely slaughtered, It could be seen as a result of past blessings. Not only do those born into royal families suffer, but individuals born in war-torn regions also face hardships. Moreover, being born into a certain family can lead to being implicated and even result in the massacre of staff and servants. Similarly, joining a particular organization, be it a political party, religious group, or organized crime syndicate, can lead to dire consequences if it falls from grace, with imprisonment being inevitable. In places where power struggles are fierce, standing with the wrong person or joining the wrong side can have dreadful consequences. Throughout history, soldiers from both sides have shed blood in battles. But have we ever considered that these soldiers are beloved children of mothers, cherished husbands of wives, and respected fathers of children? Why do they engage in mutual slaughter? There is a tale of a criminal who complained to the greatest creator when the ship he was on sank, saying, "Why, to punish just me, did you have to drown over 200 people?" A distant voice from the heavens responded, "It wasn't an easy task to gather over 200 people who were destined to perish, was it?" During an earthquake, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands, may perish in an instant. A flood can separate the living from the dead in a village within moments. An airplane crash can cause hundreds of people to vanish without a trace in an instant. Timing, luck, destiny. What do these phenomena teach us? Beneath the glory of power lurk invisible dangers and threats of violence. Beneath the glimmer of wealth hide endless servility and misery. Underneath the extravagance of pleasure lie numerous tears of helplessness and lurking crises. Underneath the allure of beauty lies endless bitterness, endurance, and looming danger. Beneath the radiance of fame hide indescribable impurities and corruption. Beneath the clamor of excitement lie countless disasters, misfortunes, and despair. These give us some insights into how to live our lives. Do not be misled by surface glamour, honor, and wealth. Do not walk towards power, status, wealth, fame, beauty, or excitement. For those who do, inevitable strife and misfortune await. The reverse is the movement of Tao. Walk towards places where crowds are sparse, towards auspiciousness and brightness, towards simplicity and tranquility, towards joy, happiness, freedom, and bliss, towards the path of nature. By doing so, you can minimize disasters and unexpected blows. So, where do you intend to be born in the next life? 摄像头的启示. The Revelation of the Camera. By Xiefeng. February 20th, 2024. Translation edited by Qin Yu. In this era, no matter where you go, there is likely a camera watching you, recording everything you do. This is especially true in important places like banks, jewelry stores, airports, and stations. But don't forget, many homes and even hotel rooms are monitored by cameras. Sometimes it's unimaginable that someone might secretly install a camera in your bedroom to record everything. This phenomenon tells us that no matter where we go, whether there is a camera or not, we must be prepared for the possibility of being watched by countless cameras. We must behave honestly and decently, otherwise, our actions may be captured by others and become irrefutable evidence for blackmail. What does this phenomenon reveal to us? It reveals to us that the sky has eyes, the earth has eyes, everyone has a pair of eyes, there are gods 3 feet above our heads, there is a space called retention information space in the 36-dimensional spaces. This space tells us that everything in the universe is a camera. Our daily words and deeds are meticulously recorded by the retention information space. As long as the universe exists, everything from our past, including a few years ago, hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, tens of thousands of years ago, hundreds of millions of years ago, is fully recorded, not in photo form, but in documentary form. Many people see their past like watching a serial drama after being hypnotized. Therefore, never do evil. Never have the mentality that if I do this, no one will know, especially when you are alone. Don't think that no one knows what you do. The actual situation is that heaven knows, earth knows, the greatest creator knows, everything knows. So don't sneak around doing bad things. You can't escape the law. Now let's think about another question. Does anyone know every thought in our hearts? Before we get this answer, let's think about whether anyone will know every word we type on our computer and mobile phone. The truth is, as long as our computers and mobile phones are connected to the internet, no matter what content we type on our computers and mobile phones, the network terminal knows and even records it. We know that every person is connected to the entire universe. So we know that the universe knows all our thoughts and ideas, and they are all recorded. How can the universe know our thoughts and ideas? How does it know our inner activities? It turns out that all our thoughts and activities in our hearts will turn into a frequency wave and be emitted into the universe, and our biological wave color will also change with our inner activities. Even our expressions, emotions, and postures will change with our inner activities. How can the universe not know? The universe knows everything means that Tao will record everything that has happened and is happening in the universe. This means that the greatest creator knows everything. Our every little bit, including inner activities, can't escape the greatest creator's eyes and ears. So we understand the reason why miracles appear when we cry out to the greatest creator for help in times of crisis. We will understand the value and significance of praying or confessing to the greatest creator. So we further understand that our current life situation is all caused by our past words and deeds and all the activities in our hearts. Everything is just right. There is no favoritism and injustice. So we understand how to live this life, understand which path to take in life. 泥石流为他停留16秒的启示. The revelation from the mudslide stopping for him for 16 seconds. Xiefeng, July 5, 2024. Translation edited by Qin Yu. When the Israelites crossed the Red Sea stopped flowing to give them a path. Jesus fed 5,000 people with 5 loaves and 2 fish, and Christ turned water into wine. These stories from the Bible often seem like myths or science fiction. However, real-life phenomenon, the mudslide stopped for him for 16 seconds, happened in our time. I saw the video. The mudslide stopped for him for 16 seconds on the internet. I believe it's real, although I don't know the time and place it occurred. From the video, you can see it was in a village, likely after heavy rain caused a mudslide. The mudslide flowed down a village path, then suddenly stopped moving, waiting there motionless. At the forefront of the mudslide was a white van in extreme danger. Seeing the mudslide stop, the van quickly drove away. Once the van was out of danger, the mudslide roared down with a force like an avalanche. A mudslide stopping for 16 seconds and then resuming its powerful flow defies common sense and rationality. We wouldn't expect a river to stop flowing temporarily to ensure someone's safety and then continue once they're safe. Rationalists would never acknowledge this because it defies common sense and logical thinking. I recommend that readers search online and watch the mudslide stopped for him for 16 seconds video. In Chanyuan, we have a value that nothing is impossible. There are only things we can't imagine or comprehend. If a mudslide can temporarily stop to ensure someone's safety, what can't happen? The insight we gain from the mudslide stopping is as follows. Do good deeds, regardless of what the future holds. God bless those kind-hearted. A kind person may be bullied by others, but not by heaven. An evil person may be feared by others, but not by heaven. A true gentleman does not seek blessings, yet heaven guides him. A cunning person tries to avoid disaster, yet heaven takes his soul. Reflecting on the car accident that happened to me, it changed the course of my life completely. When I got out of the car and looked at the scene, the first thought that came to my mind was, God saved me. Since then, I stopped considering myself and dedicated myself wholeheartedly to the theory of life at Chanyuan and the construction of the second home. I knew that I died in that car accident, and what remained of me belonged to God. Thus, my life's motto is, entrust my life to the greatest creator and let the Tao manage my life. I have only one task, to walk the way of the greatest creator. What is destined to come will inevitably come. Trying to avoid it is futile. What is destined to leave will inevitably leave. Trying to hold on is futile. Selflessness, unselfishness, non-attachment, taking things as they are, associating with others by following natural come-and-go relations, acting in accordance with one's intrinsic nature, and taking advantage of opportunities as they arise. This is the best way to live. It is also the essential way to the heavenly kingdom that the greatest creator can bless us to go. 自由中潜藏着地狱. There lurks a hell in freedom. Xiefeng, July 14, 2024. Translation edited by Chinyu. First and foremost, I firmly oppose any form of coercion. I oppose anyone imposing their will on others. I oppose autocracy by any individual, and I also oppose irrational democratic movements by the masses. I advocate for freedom, freedom of the body, mind, and spirit. However, today I want to point out that there lurks a hell in freedom. Freedom belongs to those who are highly spiritual, humble, eager to learn, and actively contribute without concern for personal gain or loss. If a person is lazy, selfish, greedy, cunning, scheming, or so clueless that they don't know their position in life, then freedom is likely to lead them to hell. The Leifechanuan International Family Organization purchased a resort in northern British Columbia, Canada, by a famous lakeside. This place is picturesque, serene, and peaceful. Sitting by the lake, one can enjoy the blue sky, white clouds, and birds flying, and even see the coastal mountains with their snow-capped peaks that do not melt even in summer. Upon arriving at the resort, there were many things to do. I needed people to help me, as there were 7 independent wooden cabins for guests and 12 grassy camping spots, and it was impossible for just 1 or 2 people to manage everything. According to the Leifechanuan Second Home Program, we cannot hire people, as hiring would require paying wages, and the Second Home Program does not allow any monetary transactions within. Therefore, only Chanyuan Celestials and temporary volunteers can work here. However, we did not have enough Celestials, as a few were needed to run our other small hotel in another part of Canada, which was doing well. The Leifechanuan International Families Resort urgently needed people. Conveniently, a man who had been employed by the previous owner for nearly 20 years lived in a camper on the resort grounds. If he was willing, he could have become a part of this resort and a Chanyuan Celestial, as he had an excellent opportunity in life. Unfortunately, he did not seize this opportunity. He stayed at the resort for free for 2 months, and eventually, I had to ask him to leave. My principle is that I will never assign anyone to a specific job, nor will I demand or force anyone to do anything. The Leifechanuan value is that everything should be based on self-awareness and willingness. Thus, in our home, each member must be highly free, and every member must voluntarily engage in work they are good at and passionate about, striving to excel in their duties. I give you complete freedom, and then I observe you. If you want to sleep all day, I won't interfere. If you want to play games online all day, I won't interfere. If you do just a little work each day and then wander around, that's your choice, and I won't interfere. However, if I discover that you are habitually lazy, lack self-discipline, are not proactive in your work, and yet want to eat well, dress well, and live well, I will wait for an appropriate time to ask you to leave. From this, I discovered a secret of the universe. The Tao's eye is always watching each of us. Our future depends entirely on our daily words and actions. Even our emotions, expressions, words, and gestures will affect our future. This is when I understood Laozi's saying, "The net of heaven has large meshes, but it lets nothing through." Knowing this secret of the universe, one can predict a person's future based on their words and actions, and also predict the future of a nation. Even more astonishingly, one can understand a person's or a nation's history based on their current state. This means that by observing a person's current state, one can understand their past mental state and actions. This is when one realizes how just the way of heaven is. The information I want to provide to readers is that when you are in a state of freedom, be extremely careful. Freedom leads to both heaven and hell. Humility, self-restraint, and contributing more will certainly lead to heaven. Arrogance, indulgence, and seeking comfort will certainly lead to hell. 劈柴获得的有关生命的天启. The revelation about life from chopping wood. Xiefeng, September 3, 2024. While chopping wood, I observed an interesting phenomenon. Some logs split in half with just one strong, well-aimed strike. However, there are some logs, about 60 centimeters long and 20 to 30 centimeters in diameter, that no matter how much force or precision is applied, cannot be split with a single strike. Even after multiple attempts, they remain unbroken. To split these special logs, I had to insert an axe into the initial crack and then hammer the back of the axe. As the crack widened, I would insert another axe into the new opening and continue hammering until, after dozens of attempts, the log finally split in half. When comparing the split surfaces of normal logs and these special logs, normal logs have flat, even surfaces, while special logs have twisted, spiral surfaces. Why is this? Although I haven't conducted a detailed study, I speculate that these special logs experienced some kind of twisting pressure during their growth. To survive and grow, they didn't grow straight but in a spiral manner. Over time, the grain of these trees became twisted rather than straight. Logs with straight grain are easy to split, while those with twisted grain are much harder to split. The grain represents the nature of the tree. Trees can have straight or twisted natures. Straight grain trees are not only good materials for making furniture and building houses, but they are also easy to split for firewood. Twisted grain trees, however, are not suitable for furniture or construction, are difficult to process, and are hard to split for firewood. This gives us an insight. If something grows and develops in an environment without suffering or prolonged pressure, it easily becomes useful, and its nature remains pure, simple, and gentle. Conversely, if something endures more suffering and hardship during its growth, its nature becomes twisted. It is not easy to become useful, but its character becomes very resilient and strong. Further insight is that if a person has a gentle nature and easily gets along with others, their family environment is likely harmonious, with parents who rarely argue or use threats and violence. They receive more praise than criticism in school and experience smooth sailing at work. Conversely, if a person grows up in a disharmonious family, with parents often belittling each other, and experiences frequent criticism and suppression at school and work, their nature becomes twisted. They develop strong resilience, and external forces find it hard to break them. They also find it difficult to accept others' advice and persuasion. Another insight from this is that on our life journey, when we encounter people with resilient and strong natures who are difficult to persuade, we should be more understanding and forgiving. We should show more sympathy and compassion because they have already endured much suffering. However, remember that their nature is already formed, so do not argue with them. Any dispute will not only be ineffective, but will also strain the relationship, which is detrimental to both parties. Specially natured things are special materials needed in unique situations, so they have their distinctive value and purpose. Similarly, special people have their unique value and use. Therefore, whether normal or abnormal, all are creations of nature and treasures in the greatest Creator's embrace. Emotion, love, sex, beauty, and the way of nature. Xiefeng, April 4, 2012. Translation edited by Ji Jing. Gentle breezes blow, white clouds drift, green mountains layer upon layer, birds fly freely, flowers bloom and wither, tides rise and fall, morning light shines, and sunsets glow. Grasses and trees are lush, flowers are in full bloom, rivers rush, and streams babble. All of this is nature, all unfolding in the way of nature. Spring brings growth, summer flourishes, autumn harvests, winter stores, growth and decay, formation and dissolution, the alternation of seasons, and the cycle of life are all natural, all thriving and waning within the way of nature. Young girls awaken to spring, young men experience their first emissions, romance blossoms, and the union of yin and yang. All these are natural, all arise within the way of nature. The way of nature is the way of the greatest Creator, the ultimate way of the universe, the most perfect way in space and time. Emotion is the spice of life, the form and function of sex or nature. All things are infused with emotion. All beings are sentient. Emotion is the ultimate expression of the way of nature. Love is the dance of emotions among those who attract, harmonize, and resonate with each other. It is the deepest essence of all life's continuity, a combination of all beautiful things and a source of nourishment. Sex, or nature, is the essence of life. It is life itself. All things and phenomena are expressions, manifestations, and blossoms of sex. Beauty is the outward expression of life's essence. It is the core element that makes the world vibrant and fascinating, the melody and dance of light's many wavelengths. Emotion, love, sex, and color are all manifestations of nature in its most primitive essence. They are the most valuable components of life, the source of all pleasures, and the essential forces that sustain life. The vibrant and colorful splendor of the world is due to emotion, love, sex, and beauty. Without them, the world would be barren, lifeless, devoid of vitality, joy, and meaning. It would be cold, bleak, indifferent, and dead. Willows sway, bamboo bends gracefully, birds sing melodiously, swans glide, peacocks fan their feathers, mandarin ducks play in the water, tender gazes and shared drinks under the moonlight, babbling streams, and lush green mountains. All of these are emotions, ripples, and waves of sentiment. Flowers exude fragrance, fruits hang heavy on the branches, cows and sheep calmly nurse. The sunset bathes the mountains and rivers. All of these represent love, the blossoming and overflow of affection. Majestic mountains, rushing rivers, towering peaks, valleys emerging from the mist, birds soaring in clear skies, fish swimming in the waters, peonies in full bloom, and butterflies fluttering. These all represent sex, the expression and exuberance of nature. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. A rainbow arches over mountains, wildflowers bloom. Greenery thrives, parrots and nightingales flaunt their beauty. Jade, agate, and coral reefs shine, and the multicolored sparkle of diamonds. All these represent color, its brilliance and grace. Emotion, love, sex, and color are masterpieces of nature, expressions of the natural world. Without them, would nature still be nature? It would be hell, a gathering of demons. Humans are the essence of nature, so we should fully embody the fragrance and nectar of emotion, love, sex, and color. Without emotion, a person becomes unfeeling, devoid of interest, cold, expressionless, cruel, like a mummy. Without love, a person becomes greedy, selfish, jealous, combative, inherently lazy, and repulsive, like a demon. Without sex, a person cannot distinguish yin from yang, right from wrong, lacks understanding of principles, cannot tell good from evil, beauty from ugliness, fragrance from stench, rendering them useless, without offspring. Without color, a person's face is like dead ash, lifeless, eyes vacant, devoid of beauty. Such a life is worse than dung. Some people practice Buddhism, claiming that emotion, beauty, and sex are desires to be transcended. What nonsense! The more you transcend emotion, beauty, and sex, the more you become a demon, a zombie, a mummy. Some people practicing Buddhism claim that they no longer need emotion, beauty, and sex and aim to focus solely on reaching the Elysium world. This is an affront to Buddha and the Elysium world. Without emotion, love, sex, and beauty, what is the point of reaching the Elysium world? Without these, can it still be Elysium? How can you find bliss without them? Some say that emotion, beauty, and sex deplete energy, causing it to flow out. What nonsense! I've never heard of energy flowing in sewage pipes, of energy being depleted in the toilet, or of sexual union actually draining energy. I've even heard that those who enjoy emotion, love, sex, and beauty will struggle to achieve enlightenment. That's pure nonsense. Without emotion, love, sex, and beauty, what are you striving for in enlightenment? Does enlightenment lack these elements? Enlightenment devoid of emotion, love, sex, and beauty is no true enlightenment. It's a distortion, definitely not true enlightenment. Such a path is like dog feces, horse urine, scabs, or filthy, sticky pus. Buddhism doesn't even understand the origins of the universe and life. It's nonsense. All day chanting, burning incense, and bowing with no joy, no vitality, living in a dreamlike stupor, straying from the way of nature. What is that worth? Nothing. Even comparing such a study to nonsense is too kind. It's worse than that. What is Buddha? Is something without emotion, without love, without sex, without beauty considered Buddha? It doesn't even compare to dog feces. Some people practice Buddhism and say that one should reject and transcend sex. This is utter ignorance, not even knowing where fart comes from. Buddha himself embodies sex. Without sex, can there be a Buddha? Can you achieve Buddhahood if you transcend sex? Can you even transcend sex? Without sex, you wouldn't even exist, so how could you transcend it? Even if you could transcend sex, what would remain? what would be left in this vast world? In short, to achieve a wonderful life and a bright future, one must immerse oneself in emotion, love, sex, and beauty, rather than distancing oneself from them. Immersing oneself brings vibrant splendor, overwhelming beauty, and boundless vitality. Distancing oneself results in desolate wastelands, howling ghosts, lifelessness, and endless suffering. Additional content. Find Celestial. Excellent article. Every mental constraint can bind human nature. This article can remove the mental constraints in people's hearts. Haha. In fact, the key issue is not what to do, but how to do it. And how to do it reflects a person's spiritual quality and conscious thinking. A perfect spirit involves continually transforming consciousness and changing thinking. Emotion, love, sex, and beauty are not about whether one should engage in them or not, but whether one's spirit is perfect, whether it has transformed from mundane to celestial in these aspects, from attachment to freedom and liberation. A spiritually perfect person is not attached to emotion, love, sex, or beauty, nor trapped by them. Emotion, love, sex, and beauty are the most basic and vital elements of nature or life. Instead of transcending emotion, love, sex, and beauty, one should understand how to elevate them. This is the true meaning of cultivation and practice. However, all of this involves a process of self-evolution and sublimation. In essence, all activities of the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind should not be clung to. One must learn to face them with a heart that is detached or naturally free, which is true awakening, and thus achieve the state of non-action where nothing is left undone. As for energy loss, I believe it is not about the activities of emotion, love, sex, and beauty themselves, but about where the mind and consciousness are focused. Preface to the chapter on Revelations by Xiefeng. The spirit, Tao, of the greatest creator and the universe are inseparable, just as the earth and life are intertwined. The human body's organs, blood and marrow, sensory organs, hair, and consciousness are also interconnected as a whole. The greatest creator has never engaged in direct conversations with any individual in human-created languages. However, this does not mean that the greatest creator is distant from humanity. The greatest creator is constantly in dialogue with humans, but the form of communication is not through our human languages. Instead, it occurs through the language of the greatest creator. All things in the natural world are the language of the greatest creator, and all phenomena in nature are the utterances of the greatest creator. The sun, moon, stars, rivers, lakes, oceans, wind, clouds, rain, snow, humans, animals, birds, insects, trees, flowers, mountains, rocks, and the earth itself are all the language of the greatest creator. The movements of celestial bodies, the rushing of rivers, the roaring of the sea, the changing of weather, the falling of rain and snow, the shifting of seasons, the growth and decline of living beings, including the chirping of insects, the calls of birds, the shouts of humans, the neighing of horses, earthquakes, floods, thunderstorms, and lightning are all the speech of the greatest creator. Everything that humans perceive through their eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body is the language and speech of the greatest creator. To understand the language of the greatest creator and comprehend his speech, one cannot rely solely on sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. It requires spiritual perception, but spiritual perception alone is not enough. Wisdom is also necessary. Without spiritual perception, we will never understand the language and speech of the greatest creator, and without wisdom, we will never grasp what the greatest creator is saying. Having spiritual perception alone without wisdom, we can only sense the presence of the greatest creator but cannot accurately understand the workings of the greatest creator's spirit, Tao. In other words, we may only know that we are destined to live and destined to die, but we are unclear about the reasons why we exist and why we must face death. This is referred to as knowing the what, but not knowing the why. Having wisdom alone without spiritual perception, we cannot truly perceive the existence of the greatest creator. We can only rely on accumulated human knowledge, experience, lessons, rigorous logical reasoning, and scientific experiments to uncover some mysteries of the universe, nature, and life. In other words, we may understand why we live and why we die, but we cannot comprehend the ultimate reasons behind the necessity of life and death. This is referred to as knowing the why, but not knowing the what. With the exception of a very small number of individuals who possess both spiritual perception and wisdom, generally speaking, religious figures have spiritual perception but lack wisdom, while scientists have wisdom but lack spiritual perception. The majority of the general population, who fall between these two categories, lack both spiritual perception and wisdom. They merely exist blindly, living their lives without a clear sense of purpose. The chapter of Revelations is the divine revelation given to me by the greatest creator. Before completing the chapters on unconventional thinking, the greatest creator, universe, time and space, humanity and human life, self-improvement, self-cultivation, and physical and spiritual health care, it is necessary to first complete Revelations. However, considering that Revelations directly involves the mysteries and secrets of the universe, it could pose significant risks if known by individuals with malicious intentions. It is akin to nuclear weapons. If in the hands of peace-loving individuals, they can deter those who seek to cause war and unrest, instill fear in them, and prevent their recklessness. But if controlled by evil individuals, humanity will suffer greatly. Jesus warned me, "Do not give holy things to dogs, nor cast pearls before swine." The Buddha enlightened me, "Speak for the Mahayana practitioners." The spirit of Laozi advised me, Tao, when obtained by a noble person, becomes the foundation of their self-cultivation, while when obtained by a petty person, it is treated lightly and without reverence for life. What should I do? I must heed the admonitions of gods, Buddhas, and immortals. However, in the vast sea of humanity, it is impractical for me to individually seek out noble individuals who practice the Mahayana path. Moreover, time is limited, and I don't have much time to patiently guide each person. Therefore, I have no choice but to follow the doctrine of the mean and adopt a middle path. I will conceal the mysteries and secrets beneath the surface of phenomena, only hinting at them. This way, those who possess spirituality and wisdom can see beyond the surface, transcend the vastness, and more easily discover the gems and gold beneath the earth's surface. As for the rest of the people, they will be like what Jesus said, "Though seeing, they do not see. Though hearing, they do not hear or understand." In addition to Revelations and the other mentioned chapters, there is another chapter in Life Genuine called the Preaching of the Tao. This chapter is entirely different from the Tao Te Ching, and it can be said without exaggeration that the wisdom contained in the preaching of the Tao far surpasses that of the Tao Te Ching. For instance, when it comes to beings who are destined for or already in hell, Jesus' attitude is, lest they repent and be forgiven. On the other hand, in Buddhism, Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha vows, "I vow to save all sentient beings in the world, and I will not enter the Elysium world until hell is empty." Who is right and who is wrong? Whose guidance should we ultimately follow? Preaching of the Tao specifically addresses such challenging questions. However, the timing is not ripe at the moment. Only when Life Genuine is widely accepted by all human beings can preaching of the Tao be shared openly. It is similar to constructing a building where exquisite chandeliers cannot be hung until the main structure is completed. Laozi said, "When the highest type of followers hears Tao, the truth, they try hard to live in accordance with it. When mediocre types hear Tao, they seem to be aware and yet unaware of it. When the lowest types hear Tao, they break into loud laughter. If it is not laughed at, it is not Tao." Regarding the chapter of Revelations, those who understand will discern its true essence, while those who do not will merely spectate. Apart from that, I have nothing else to discuss. 人生需要一条跑道. Life needs a track. Xiefeng. February 27, 2007. Edited by Kayer. Many talented people living among us appear to be mediocre, not because they are of low intelligence or are not gifted, but because they have either not found their own tracks or they have taken the wrong ones. Everyone has unlimited potential, but the main reason for not having given play to their potential is not because they are born stupid or have insufficient mental skills, but because they have never found their best life track from start to finish. No matter how excellent an aircraft is, it will never fly if there is no runway, for an aircraft with no runway will never be more than a pile of metal. No matter how much potential an excellent sprinter or long-distance runner has, his or her talents would remain buried without a racetrack, knowing not whether they are a mediocre horse or a swift horse until death. Life needs a track, and battlefields, business markets, officialdom, farms, and social realms all have lots of them. We must choose the track that best suits us, because it is only with the right track that we can give full play to our talents. Generals Eisenhower and Patton demonstrated their outstanding military talents because they had the track of war. But if there had been no tracks of war, who would even know their names? Zhu Jun, Yang Lan, and Ai Ping, and others have become the focus of millions of people, sparkling with brilliance, simply because they shared the track of television. Who would they otherwise be? Jet Li and Andy Lau rose to fame far and wide simply because of the track of movies. Throughout the history of Communist Party of China, many outstanding politicians, strategists, and diplomatic talents have emerged and many commoners became generals. It was because they took the track of the communist movement that they had brilliant lives. But without this track, their talents would have been drowned in life's ocean. Many people turned onto this track and formed the backbone of the state, and many others became millionaires or even billionaires because they took the business track after China's reform, when it opened up, and they gained much wealth. But what would their lives be like today without this track? Nobody knows. Many eminent Buddhist monks showed their superior wisdom because they followed the track of Buddhism. If you want to make something out of life, you must choose a track that suits your personality, because you cannot give play to your talents without the right track. Without the correct track, you will drown in the crowd. The internet is a track, and many people are shining with brilliance upon it, creating their own blogs and gathering their own social connections. A large number of authors, writers, critics, and practitioners are emerging on this track and are demonstrating their talents. You have to find your track, but if you do not see the proper one, you should build your own. Why? Because you will play better, be better at the game of life, and make your life more colorful. Do not pretend to be aloof and say that you are too good to engage in this, because that would be finding excuses for your incompetence and failures. A soldier who does not want to be a general is never a good soldier. A life that does not want to have a glorious course is never a good life. If you want to make big money, be the boss. For being the boss is the track to making the most money, and if you want to be an official, build your social connections. For building social connections is the track to being an official. There are numerous tracks, and they are everywhere, but if you want to play your talents to the maximum, you will have to choose a track with infinite prospect. If you choose a good track, you can have a good life, but if you choose a bad track, you can only have a bad life. Zhang Guotao abandoned the track of the Communist Party and eventually, unknowingly froze to death. On the other hand, Deng Xiaoping stuck with the track of the Communist Party and eventually had his wishes fulfilled. If you choose polishing shoes, then you will unconsciously be on the track of polishing shoes. If you choose to steal, then you will unconsciously be on the track of crime. If you choose to reap without sowing, then you will, over time, get on a greedy, selfish, and parasite track. If you choose a mass movement, you will be on the track of confronting the government. If you choose life genuine, then you are naturally taking on the track of trekking and climbing to the highest realm of life and life. Which is the best track? It depends on you. You must choose your track completely on your own. The best track is one that you can follow for a lifetime. Tracks can be regularly replaced if they are not good, because some tracks have no futures and lead to dead ends with steep precipices. You will have to sharpen your eyes to think and judge. Some tracks seem narrow and bumpy at first, but the more you walk on them, the broader, brighter, and more brilliant they become, while others look broad, densely populated, and big. Yet the more you walk on them, the more your feet hurt, you become confused and frustrated, and the narrower and darker they become. If you have the ability to rule a country, the ambition to ride on top of the world, and have both superintelligence and indomitable willpower, then you had better build your own track. If you do not, then you can borrow others' ready-made tracks. For example, instead of creating your own blogs with few hits, you might want to promote your ideas and display your talents on another's website or bulletin board. Instead of creating your own website with painstaking care and precision, yet having no visitors, you might as well demonstrate your skills on someone else's websites. Once you have chosen your track, you must not give it up too easily, for giving up means failure. Remember, 1,000 sails pass by the shipwreck and 10,000 saplings thrive beyond the withered tree. No one will sympathize with you if you fail. At most, they will express regrets and pity. Once you find that your track has no future, you must give it up as soon as possible and try to blend onto the track with the most brilliant prospects at once, because if you bite the bullet and play hard, you will only miss your opportunity and then grieve it for a lifetime. Remember, the earth will rotate the same, with or without you. A life needs a track. As long as the route is right, you can stride ahead. I hope you follow your splendid life track.
人生的主次先后，轻重缓急。
Priorities, the order of importance and the emergence of life. By Xiefeng. From the long-term perspective, we know that each life lasts for only a fleeting moment. Regardless of how capable we might be, we are incapable of escaping our inexorable doom. How to spend this fleeting life is a question deserving our serious consideration and discussion. Look at life from the perspective of life. Life is only a journey, a flash of light in the infinite time and space of life. Since life is so transient, we need to explore the routes and risks of our journey. What kind of life is the most beautiful? As we are all people, we must first consider how to be people. The greatest creator of the universe, created us and meant for us to be people, not ghosts, devils, celestial beings, Buddhas, or gods. If we surrender our humanness to devote our life, time, and energy to becoming higher forms, then we are doing it against the will of the greatest creator. It is only when we first conduct ourselves as people living by the will of the greatest creator that we can hope to attain Buddhahood at the end of our life's journey. It is as if the boss of a company hires someone to be a clerk. The clerk's purpose is to dedicate his efforts toward his own duty, not to ask his boss to consider him to be a section chief, because it is only after he performs his clerk's duties well that the company boss should offer him the opportunity to be promoted to the position of section chief. The intent of the greatest creator in creating us is to enjoy life and not to make us suffer at all. Because for human beings, the greatest creator is love, great love. I do not worship men of the hour or heroes who gallop onto battlefields, nor do I worship those great people who are admired by the masses, or the ordinary people who become Buddhas and gods of the mortal world. I only pay tribute to ordinary, simple, honest, and hardworking people, because those people's lives conform to the way of being mankind. Those who sacrifice their present life pleasures to focus on grace after death do so against Tao. The moralization teachings that people can only obtain well-being after going through affliction and suffering definitely leads them astray. The preaching that asks people to cultivate achievements with intensity, regardless of their family responsibilities, in an attempt to attain special magical powers and arts to glorify the mortal world is questionable. Could it be the devil's temptation? The practice of hyping celebrities, successful figures, distinguished scientists, outstanding entrepreneurs, millionaires, experts, emperors, great men, and heroes will prove to be disturbing, causing people to crowd onto the single-plank bridge and to forget the meaning of life. The benevolent see benevolence, and the wise see wisdom. Life Achanuan preaches that the ordinary life is the best life. Life's priorities and orders of importance and emergence should be as follows. The paramount thing in life is to revere the greatest creator, which mainly embodies reverence of nature and reverence of life. If we consider nature as appendages that can be arbitrarily spoiled, treat life, including animals, beasts, insects, fish, trees, flowers, and grass, as dirt, then we are defying and profaning the greatest creator. Our life is one of evil and is doomed to extinction, and we can no longer have a bright future. The first thing to consider and pursue in life is the beauty of the soul, rather than the accumulation of power, money, fame, and desirable people. If one's mind is not beautiful and their soul is dirty, then their life is bound to slip into hell. They are bound to keep company with devils and demons, and their life is a definite failure. The most important thing in life is to explore the mysteries of the universe and the meaning of life. The greatest creator always rewards the wise who have spiritual natures and wisdom and offers them wonderful spiritual enjoyment. If we affix our eyes only to the limited time and space, or even on meeting the needs of our lust, then we are bound to be lost and the water of life will evaporate. The most urgent questions in life are how to elevate the non-material structure of life, its spiritual nature, toward the development of higher life space directions, and how to sublimate our personalities and to perfect our spiritual natures. None of us know what will happen tomorrow. One certain thing is that our life structures will determine the life endings we will have. Everything in life should revolve around this point because if we die tomorrow, all that we own in the mortal world will be gone. All of our efforts will be in vain, and our precious lives will go wasted for nothing. I am talking about the great way of life. You may take time to think about this. Xiefeng is of no importance, but what is important is that Life Genuine can lead a person's life into an infinitely wonderful world.
寻找人生的最佳坐标系和坐标点。
Find the best coordinate system and the best coordinate points of life. Xiefeng, edited by Kayer. This article was inspired by the annotation to the Analects, Shui Er, verse I. Once the roots are established, the way will grow therefrom. Having roots is the way to be human and how to learn about the universe. If you understand how to be human, you can lay the foundation to understand about heaven and the earth. If you do not understand how to be human, it will be difficult to learn about heaven and the earth. What is the way to be human? In my humble opinion, we must first understand our place in the time and space of the universe. Namely, that you are neither God, Buddha, a celestial being, a ghost, a devil, nor a beast, but that you are a mortal human. Knowing that you are a human, you need to do human things, speak human words, take the human way, and seek human business. You should not do ghostly things, speak the God's words, take the devil's way, or engage in absurd businesses. How does one do human things? Show filial piety to your parents, respect your teachers and seniors, care for the young and lonely, help your siblings, show concern for your relatives and neighbors, show compassion to plants and insects, and protect the landscape and the environment. These are human things, and anything that is contrary to them is inhuman. How does one speak human words? Consider if others were in your place and speak respectfully. Do not spread unsubstantiated rumors. Help others to resolve their differences and bring them peace. Advise others to do good things and not to go astray. Motivate people to make progress and fight for their futures. How does one take the human way? Be committed to your own duties. Manage your household with diligence and thrift. Be studious and make progress. Cast off your destructive habits. Take only what is right for you. Study that which is worthy of being studied. Take only the way of Tao, and do nothing against righteousness. How does one practice human business? Engage in farming, forestry, industry, commerce, or politics. They are human businesses. Human business is the foundation of social stability, and it underlies the success or failure of the family and the state. People who actively participate in these endeavors and pursuits are doing human business. If it is not a human business, even if it can bring you much quick wealth, do not do it. How does one avoid doing ghostly things? By not being sneaky and afraid of being found out by victims or the legal system, doing things that are offensive to heaven and reason, cheating a superior or deceiving a subordinate, dishonoring one's parents, bullying the young and the weak, wrongly accusing and murdering the good and virtuous, insulting the sovereign, duping the ignorant, speaking ill of one's peers, bearing false witness, rebelling against the clan leader, taking credit for the work of subordinates by bullying them, seeking favor by flattering, disrespecting one's countrymen, disrupting state affairs, rewarding unjust acts, harming and implicating the innocent, slandering the saints and sages, undermining morality, filling the cave and covering the nest, harming conception and breaking eggs, stealing others' achievements, discrediting their good conduct, disclosing their indecent secrets, injuring their appearance, separating children from their parents, wasting other people's money and resources, engaging in illegal conduct, forcing young girls to prostitute themselves, damaging marriages, taking away people's beloved, harboring murderous hearts, blaming others, desecrating ancestral graves, destroying homes, deluding with heretical doctrines, bewitching minds, talking about ghosts and monsters, or by poisoning the spirituality. These are some of nearly 100 items enumerated in Life Genuine, Life and Life's Track. How does one not speak the God's words? They are the words of gods in heaven and are unknown to those who have not attained Tao. And even those who have attained Tao must be very knowledgeable about the truths of the universe. It is not something that ordinary people can understand. If you do not know how to be human but speak the God's words, then you are either talking nonsense or you have lost your mind. How does one not take the devil's way? By not misleading living beings, pursuing special magic arts and powers, inciting to rebel, promoting tyranny, touting heroes, singing the praises of totalitarianism, teaching others not to do the things of ordinary people, and other heterodoxical doctrines. All these are the devil's ways. How does one not engage in deluded businesses? By not farming their own land but still expecting wealth to arrive, not working but scamming, not studying or learning but expecting to know, not attending to their own business but wanting everything, being the blade of grass that wants to be a flower, the flower that wants to be in the orchard, the tiger that wants wings, or the bandit who want to be a deity celestial being. All these are absurd businesses. If roots are not established, then everything will be void, but if roots are established, then everything will be done. First be a person, then be a lady or gentleman. After that, follow the examples of the saints and sages, and then pursue the way to become a deity celestial being. Alas, the secrets of the Great Way are hidden to most people, but they reveal themselves to those who are enlightened. After seeking the Great Way everywhere for 3,000 years, it still hides in narrow margins. Therefore, to be a human being is the best coordinate system and the coordinate points of life.
感恩升华生命的第一要素。
Gratitude, the first element of life's sublimation. Xiefeng. Deformities lack beauty and make us feel unutterably upset and irritable or even disgusting. This is not a